bouncing back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. It's just a mission. I do them in my sleep, no commission. I like a side quest, love opposition. With surgical precision, they make losing their tradition. Yeah, they talk and they talk, but what they say to me, I'm chewing it all, straight in my jaw, the way that it hurts you to think. I'm building a wall, 90s tall between you and me. I'm out of space, you're out of peace. It's a different game when I'm out of your league. Say you want it all, if you want it all, make a move, don't stop and wonder. Gotta take it out, 'cause I want it all. No, I stumble, I'll keep bouncing back. Take your cap, take your step, take a step, 'cause I've been back. Oh, just like that, I beat you in, crank up back to back. Oh, just like that, I see a dub in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go, the doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. Now sit and watch me get this gold. Own it all, own it all. I'll bounce back. I just want it all, I just want it all. I'm gon' bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. Said you want it all, I'll bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. I can have it all. If you knock me down, I'll move to the top.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? I missed y'all so much. Yes, we had a great time with the Reload Elite series, but here we are back with the FNCS. Look at this new color, new us, new year. It's gonna be an amazing time. We missed y'all so much. Hope you had a great time over in EU, but now it's our time. Also, shout out to Levin, pretty good host. Levin, stay in your lane, okay? No, I get to do this. You gotta go back to other stuff, okay? Anyway, let's bring in your analysts. Let's get them in here. You love them, you know them. It's Kelly Link, it's Vivid. Oh my gosh, Vivid, Kelly. I haven't seen y'all's faces in so long. We are back. FNCS is back, Vivid.
Oh, I am so excited, Zeke. This is awesome. Like Zeke mentioned, we got the desk here. We're going to be providing you guys with all the information throughout the day, how everything works, and more importantly, all of the stats that we can possibly find. I'm going to kick us off early with one right now. 222, the number of days since we last had an FNCS broadcast like this from, online, from home and everything like that. Yeah, sure, we've had globals in between. Yeah, sure, we had the Reload Elite series in between as well, but this just feels right, and I'm so excited to get into the action. Zeke already called it out. EU was absolutely phenomenal, and I'm expecting no different from NA.
So just like Vivid said, it has been a very long time since we've had an FNCS. And, Vivid likes to bring the numbers. I try to bring the storyline to the analyst desk, and it's been a bit of a complicated story, Zeke. There's been a lot of moving parts, a lot of teams that have kind of reformed, and maybe it's been a little bit much. So before we get into the heats, I do want to kind of give everyone just a brief rundown of everything that's happened since the end of Global Championships. And production, I'm actually going to need your help for this. I'm going to need full screen real quick because I have something that might help everyone. So,
oh no.
Okay. So real quick, just want to make sure that we got this all right. There we go. Okay. So if the pictures are together, that means that they have competed in an FNCS Grand Finals together, or just in Chapter 7, a Div Cup Finals. If there is, or that's the red strings. If they're together, that means that they're competing in Major 1. Okay, so Peterbot and Poyo are Grim Gate guys, reformed after Chapter 6, and surprise, surprise, they're absolutely dominating, getting back-to-back Div Cup Final wins, as well as the most recent Div Cup Final going into Major 1. Now, Ritual and Agers from opposing trios actually formed together, and have had a pretty good run so far, getting top 5 consistently, if not first and second place. Now, Cold and Acorn, who used to be teammates going all the way back to Chapter 4, actually don't form together. In fact, Acorn and Bolts have been pretty consistent going all the way back to the end of Chapter 6, except for a week where Acorn played with Kanata and Bolts played with Rise. Now, before I talk about Cold and Rapid, I do want to talk about the fourth team, Higgs and Clicks. Now, let me tell you, they have never looked better, Zeke, although I will say that your writing is getting a little lazy because there was a week where it looked like Higgs and Clicks were going to be breaking up, but then they ended up winning the Div Cup Finals. And then that's just a rehash of a previous episode we saw from Peterbot and Poyo where it looked like they were going to be breaking up, but then they ended up sticking together because they won the Reload Elite series. So, Zeke, I'm going to need you to do better, okay?
You weren't supposed to notice
Don't
that.
interrupt me, Zeke. Okay, so we got Cold and Rapid, and let me tell you, Cold originally was playing with Booga for a week, and then he actually played with a mystery player who we'll talk about in a second, but he ends up playing with Rapid, and let me just say, I am so happy that Rapid is finally getting the attention that he deserves. I've honestly thought that he has been an incredible player going all the way back when he used to play with Batman Booga. And I mean, whatever happened to that guy? Wait a second, Zeke.
What?
Oh my God. Zeke, we don't have time for that. Okay, so anyway, the mystery player that I was talking about, who could that be? Oh my God, up in the sky. It's a bird, it's a plane, oh wait, no, it is just a plane. But Veno's in it, everyone. Oh my goodness, Veno has returned from across the pond. And if he's not playing with Cold, is he playing with Clicks? No, he's gonna throw us a curveball, Zeke, and a curveball. And he's gonna play with Kurt. So let's shift focus onto this side of the board. There's even more snakes over here. Watch out, everyone. While making this board, I found out that in the United States, the state with the most amount of snakes in it is Texas. What a coincidence. Anyway, so because Veno didn't end up playing with Cold, Veno ends up playing with Curve, but Curve is originally playing with Craze. So Craze actually ends up playing with Booga, and Booga actually lived with Clicks for a little bit, which is kind of crazy, but nowhere near as crazy as everything that's happened with Kanata. Do you know this guy? Have we talked about him at all? The only player to make every single FNCS Grand Finals, one of 3 players to be the top performing North American team out of the recent Global Championships, and then, oh my God, Zeke, look at him. He's got his own corner on the board. He must be so amazing and have no problem finding any teammate to go into Major 1, right?
Right.
No, wrong, Zeke. Wrong. In fact, him even being up here is wrong because he's not even playing in North America Central. No, he's gone to NA West to play with Victor V, and honestly, I think they're going to have an absolutely incredible day. Now, we have to talk about Reed. Good old Reed. I don't know if I've ever talked about him before. Maybe I've mentioned him, but look at him. Zeke, WK King, he's got 2 stars. It's not easy to get 2 stars, you know, unless you're Muzz or any of these guys. But regardless, he has disrespected throughout the start of this chapter and finally finds a teammate in Javi. And you know, Zeke, either you're eliminated early or you survive long enough to see yourself become the enemy. And that's exactly what happened with Reet as he drops Javi right before Major 1. How could he do this? And then I found out that he actually dropped him for Cooper, and it's like, oh, well, that's how he did it. You know, also, Javi and Minish have been doing absolutely phenomenal, so I think he might have gotten the better end of that deal.
Well, yeah, production, maybe we should just come back to 3 bombs.
No, Zeke, I haven't talked about Fact City yet.
Why don't we take some
have
time?
to talk about
I have
Fact City.
to make sure
he's
that
at the center of everything, Zeke.
Make sure
I
Kelly's
can't prove
good.
it just yet, everyone. He's at the center of everything.
Why
He's
don't we
pulling all the strings.
MDF Jacob, help, please.
Guys, please. We gotta get Kelly under control here, Jacob. It looks like the break has been a little too long for her.
No, it definitely has, but she might be onto one thing. The pressure that is on this lobby today. This is Heats. The format is going to be something that might surprise a couple people, but if you were here last year, it's a lot of the same. The play-in stage where Central qualified 150 teams to the group stage here, where we split up to 3 different heats, where the format win and you're in. That's 5 teams for the 5 games. The rest is left to the top 10 and the leaderboard, Monster.
That's right. And there's nothing like a Heats week. There's nothing like FNCS in general, right? Big wins. And then, of course, taking home that fat prize because you get to punch your ticket out of the day, right? So for some, it might just be a little easy night out. And then we have, of course, that last chance qualifier right before you know it. So all this Fortnite, Jacob, has suddenly ended up jam-packed into our schedule.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those things where even if you don't make it through these heats, don't fret. Even though this is the easiest chance you're going to get, you still have the last chance qualifier where everybody who does not make it through heats to the grand finals will play all in the same time to try to get the last spots left. But there's still so much to break down. Hopefully Kelly has calmed down a little bit, Zeke.
It's fine. Everything's good. We're back. Here we are. Everything's fine, right? Kelly, you're good, right?
Yeah, I'd like to apologize to everyone. WebMD says that it might be work stress induced mania.
All right, Kelly. All right. Let's actually jump into how things are going to be breaking down today and who is going to be playing in the lobby, who we're going to be watching, and how all of the numbers kind of break down for Heat number 1. Kelly's going to be having a breakdown. I'm going to be breaking down all of the numbers, though. Over here, as you can see, Heat number 1, the lobby stats. Always love to kind of take a look at these stats as we're going into the Heats. And just so you guys know at home, if you want to tune back in tomorrow and on Sunday for Heats number 2 and 3, we're going to be running the same exact numbers there, so we can kind of make some comparisons. But so far today, we're going to have 239 total FNCS finals appearances across all of our competitors, 6 FNCS titles. We got a couple of FNCS winners, 3 total there, and then surprisingly, only 1 Div Cup win amongst all of our competitors here today. Like I said, tune in throughout the weekend and we'll see how these heats kind of match up.
It's so crazy to me to see these numbers and to still think that this is probably the least veteran that we have out of all of our heats. That many FNCS performances, and still we don't have like a lot of the big names here. And it just goes to show how top heavy North American Central has really become in the competition, Zeke.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I love this, man. 3 days of Fortnite. So much to talk about. Let's kick it off with that lobby list. Let's bring up some of the lists of players we're going to be see compete here today. Why don't we start things off with Shadow and Virgo? You know, guys, can't lie to you. They have had some phenomenal performances out in the play-in stage. Talk to me a little bit about this duo. Why should everyone be hyped to see them compete?
I mean, honestly, Shadow and Virgo have had a pretty great performance, and I know Vivid's going to take it away with Shadow because I feel like every time we come onto the broadcast, you have to talk about Shadow a little bit. And there's no, I mean, I completely understand why. He has been an absolutely incredible competitor, going all the way back into Global Championships last year, getting 10th place, one of the best performing teams that we have seen from North America out of the Global Championships. And honestly, they've kept that rolling. Shadow and Virgo have been a great duo so far. Getting 5th place in the first Div Cup this season has just been the start, I think, to their success.
Yeah, I just really love to always point out the fact that, hey, Shadow is constantly finding himself in the conversation whenever we see these FNCS grand finals kind of going on. And, you know, he hasn't had that like win or like top 3 yet, but he's consistently found himself in that top 10. And I love the fact that Kelly was kind of pointing out through his performances because last year, major number 1 and 2, they picked up 9th, major number 3, he picked up 5th, and then global's 10th as well. The play-in specifically, though, this duo, Shadow and Virgo, they topped the numbers charts over here for most eliminations and play-ins, 250. And if you take a look down, look at all of these duos that they actually beat out. Cole, you're beating out Cole in eliminations. You're beating out Peterpa and Pollo in eliminations. They're known for that. 250, incredible performance coming out of play-ins from this duo. I'm excited to see how they perform today.
That is hype. That's like, just to think about them having more elims. Oh man, we are in for it today. I mean, I got to assume, right? That means they are likely going to get a Victory Royale because it's all we need. We're either Victory Royale, win and we're in, or ending in the top 10. This feels doable, right, Kelly?
I mean, what was really fun for me watching their games back is that they get VRs through different play styles. We've seen them get a Victory Royale going from like low ground all the way into zone 11 and going for those really hardcore aggressions, but also winning from high ground. But the thing that really impresses me, Vivid, is that even when they are on high ground, they're still able to get a ton of eliminations. So if you're not able to claim that win, that is just going to help them throughout placements when it comes to heats.
Yeah, super excited to kind of see how they perform today. Another duo that I am excited to keep my eye on throughout the day. It's going to be Ritual and Agers. Obviously, listen, this is kind of like the big name of this heat. It kind of feels like, right? I mean, if you take a look at the placements last year for these guys individually, Agers first, fifth, second in the majors. Ritual, incredible year, second, first. Absolutely crazy. And remember that stat that we kind of talked about earlier where there are 6 total FNCS wins in this heat? These two right here take up 4 of those. So absolutely incredible stuff. And obviously, listen, they've got the experience. They know how to win FNCSs. But another thing that they have proven that they also know how to do this season is get eliminations. I was kind of looking at the stats for this heat and kind of comparing all of the individual stuff and how the teams are kind of doing and some of the stuff this season. So took a look at the Div Cup finals and average elims per game. This duo absolutely dominates the rest of this heat. They're at 5 eliminations on average per game in Div Cup finals right now. That is absolutely insane.
I think a lot of that also comes down to, especially with it being a duos competition now for the FNCS, you get a lot of solo situations. And Ritual and Agers prove time and time again how they're able to kind of maximize the situation when it comes down to a solo situation. I'm not saying that they have to necessarily get the Victory Royale, but they make sure that they survive as long as they can, as well as getting a few eliminations. And that is so pivotal in a duos competition.
You guys got me hyped. Let's bring up this lobby list. We want to talk about a couple more. Let's jump over. So we've talked about some like high profile duos, right? Let's maybe go to the other end. Let's talk about Rise and Curly. So these guys actually just recently formed and they're landing Painted Palms and they're contested. I feel like that's a pretty dangerous mix, but you know, this is still heats. All we need is a Victory Royale, right, Kelly? Like, or a top 10. That feels doable, but you know, it's an uphill battle right now.
When you say danger, we also have to add the fact that they are going to be contested by James Sullivan and G-Sus over there at Painted Palms. But honestly, Curly and Rise, I mean, Rise has been a veteran for a very long time. Curly has also had his own shining moments throughout the FNCS, but definitely newer compared to Rise. But I think that between the two of them, that they are probably going to be going more for consistency rather than the win. I do know that they have not played a single Div Cup finals together, so obviously that synergy is not going to be there. But having this opportunity to kind of play through heats, Vivid, might give them the chance that they need to kind of warm their feet a little bit going into the competition for grand finals.
Yeah, absolutely. You're kind of mentioning how new this duo feels, right? You could see that board that Kelly did such a good job on showing us how crazy NA has been. Yeah, this is one of those newer teams that formed outside of all of that mess. So not a lot of experience under their belts, but just individually speaking, they're just so good. It would be crazy to see a finals without them.
Dude, Rise is a literal legend. I mean, he's an OG. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have high hopes for the duo, right? Now, I know what you guys want. You want to see some Fortnite action. We are kicking off the FNCS. So, casters, over to you.
What a wild ride this is shaping up to be already, Monster, and the format proves it to be so. Even though there are 15 spots up for grabs with only 5 games, time can run out quick, and I've seen it before in the past where teams outside of that point threshold win that last game and kind of jumble things up, so you cannot take these chances for granted because going through the LCQ is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's going to be tough here, but hey, you know what? Heat 1, this is just, as we like to say, the beginning of the weekend, right? You know, if this was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're starting with breakfast right now. Just kind of ease things up, get us into kind of the groove, open things up as we start, of course, looking at all the action. But, this season also is almost entirely refreshed, right? As far as what kind of loot pool we're looking at, the drop spots that are available, right? So, Jacob, we have a lot, of course, that we're going to be looking forward to.
Yep.
And it sounds like
right into game number 1.
Definitely right there. I'm ready for this right here. Fortnite is back, baby. FNCS season is here, Jacob. We get to, of course, call all of the action as we now begin things off here with Heat 1, game number 1.
Yep, and this is where, as the games progress, it's going to continue to get interesting because as a team wins the game, we talk about that instant 1,000 points. It grants you a spot in the FNCS Grand Finals next weekend, and you don't have to play the rest of the games out, which means your drop spot then opens up for somebody else in the lobby if they're going to take the risk and try to take it. But the contested fight over towards Painted Palms, this is what Kelly, Vivid, and Zeke were talking about. Rise and Curly, they have a lot of experience on their team. It's just about how you put it together against a team that you might not know a lot about.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Curly and Rise obviously easily could be favorites, of course, that we're going to be looking at here as we're Painted Palms here. But you know what? There's going to be, of course, all types of competition everywhere. And as you know, Jacob, I mean, it can go either way. If you look at EU, some teams were deciding, hey, I'm not just going to go ahead and, pick up the Victory Royale right now. I actually want to get my reps in. You can't fault them, right, for wanting to play all the 5 games out as well. Because top 10 through consistency, for some of the teams that you look at inside the Heat, I mean, that's a relatively low bar, right, for them to hit. So I am going to be keeping my eye on, if you will. Okay, who's going to play for the win? Who's going to punch their ticket out early? Who's actually going to just stick around, just to keep us entertained?
Yeah, 2 different kind of win conditions to get into that finals. And this is a team, speak of those win conditions, that can do both. Ritual Agers, uncontested at Sandy Strip. They have a lot of time, a lot of space here to kind of get up their loot, get their materials, and kind of go from there. This is a team, though, that is also known to kind of use some of those tricks in the middle to launch onto teams unexpectedly. Wonky Land, this is where most times or not, you see it uncontested by Clicks and Higgs, but they're no longer in the lobby. That leaves Sniper and Avenger against Mopping and Max here, who also contested them in the eval finals.
Yeah, that is something really interesting, right? Depending on who comes out of this drop or really out of this heat here will determine if whether or not Clicks may have some competition, of course, into the finals. So all of these fights do matter, but Avenger's team is going to come out on top. And gosh, they made that look nice and quick there. Sniper Dude and Avenger Alert just come in, catch their 2 elims, and get out.
Yeah, that's huge right there, and just take note of the lack of damage or the little bit of damage that they actually take with the Storm Surge changes. That's going to help them so much because they get early damage. Now they have uncontested Wonky, and they can kind of set up to go through the rest of their game plan, figure out where the zone pulls, and kind of work their way from there. Jesus, see his duo here from Painted Palms. And a lot of times you see a contested fight, Monster, and you think it's going to be a 50-50. Maybe they're going to fight it until one team fully gets eliminated. This time, early on here in Heat number 1, it does look like Painted Palms is going to split this time around.
Yeah, really interesting. We'll keep tabs on them too, right? This is one of the first times they actually get themselves on the broadcast here. So no real, history to reflect back on, but some that is with Prezi and Fabio here. Just gonna go ahead and give things up, use those overdrive shockwaves to slide on out. Not exactly wanted to put too much pressure here onto Slips and Toronto. Things seem to have slowed down, and they're gonna be content with the early engagement. And these engagements are still important, right? Of course, we haven't gotten into what Storm Surge will be, but this game so far does seem to be pacing pretty fast. Like, these fights are generally ending, so I'd be surprised if we see one early on, honestly, at this pace.
Yeah, it's just one of those give and takes. You see as the tournament gets on, teams are more willing to take the risk, get aggressive, go for eliminations because they know where they stand at the leaderboard. But in game number 1, you're seeing very, very slow action. Leahy, Ultra, they're just lurking around. They got that one elimination. You see Cryptify sitting there by himself. They just don't know exactly where he's at. And this side of the map is one of the sides of the map that actually got some of the changes in the last update with Treetop Terrace no longer there, which means the spot where they're at now, which used to be kind of split, is now one of the focal points for this drop spot where teams are more than likely going to 50-50 fight just like this.
Definitely, and it's worth taking that battle there, of course, early, but jump in with Virgo and Shadow. I mean, the highlights that we put on this team, of course, at the top of the show had to be all around feels good for them, right? Performing so well and being able to push the eliminations further and further. You know, this is a team that every year we've only gotten to say more and more good things about them. And I genuinely feel like Shadow might just be next up. Who knows? This could be his breakout opportunity. Hopping on over to, of course, the vets themselves. These champions here, Gen G's, Agers, and Ritual, already on the hunt right now.
Yeah, this is a team where they get their spot uncontested right now, and they want to keep it that way. A lot of teams on the eastern side of the map with the zone pulled in this direction like to visit this mending machine, but they're not really going to get too many chances, especially with Aegis or Ritual actually here. You see, they already have one elimination, so they know that players is solo by himself. No third-party shots coming in, which means they have all the comfortability in the world to continue to try to fight this exactly how they are, playing aggressive with these Thunderbursts, just trying to break through the builds. If they're lucky, maybe bleed some of that damage through to get the elimination as they finally pick that one up. There goes 2, and there goes early Surge for a great start here.
That Chaos Shotgun can hit hard, but of course you have to time when you are going to use it, as it is a give and take weapon. Takes quite some time to reload there once, of course, you let that first big pump off, but 160 is going to land for Agers. They make it look nice and easy. On the other side, we hop in with Scuffy's here. He seems to have gotten the eastern shoulder here of the Barracks all to himself. Not too bad.
Yeah, kind of uncontested, which in one aspect you get a little bit of freedom, but it is the split drop. And on this side of the map, you see a lot of contested fights at the new sanctuary, the surrounding land towards the south. There are some uncontested spots that they could try to loot up for Day and Scuffy's towards the north side, where hopefully somebody didn't grab those already. But with the way the zone's pulling Day and Scuffy's, they have a great start. They just need to start the rotation quick if they're trying to make it over towards Wonky Land, where you see Jojo and Aoxy. They too land at a little bit of a split drop in between Wonky and the Frigid Fortress. There is a good amount of loot there, and they usually look towards both of those POIs to get the early Surge, and that's why you see Jojo Fishy set up here with the Surge base.
Big fan of the Frigid Fortress kind of standoff here from Jojo and Aoxy, like the high ground, all that visual here on the map. In general, this is probably one of the more powerful locations you can have control of. You start talking about that. Look at the other teams kind of migrating into this general area as we talk about the strength of the drop. There's a lot of potential action to be unfolding here. I think Rogue FNBR here is looking to do. Probably has win a little bit of knowledge. There might be a team to their north, right? For those that have rotated nice and late here.
Which is going to be tough for Rogue and Spear here. You kind of got their strategy set out for a lot of people that are in this position, not just them, but other teams as well. Rogue has a job here. It's to look out in the distance and get as much search as possible to make the later parts of their game easier. Spear is just down below, re-farming up the mats they use to get that base and just finding any extra resources. And it's important that his teammate up above watches his back to make sure he doesn't get snuck up on. And you're kind of seeing how these strategies start to play out because they have the benefit of being in zone, unlike Boogie and Cash here. They are trying to re-farm up, get the rest of their materials, but they have a long distance to cover. You see the zone pulling them out of Humble Hills, so if they're not necessarily set on Surge, they might have their game plan dictated for them.
Definitely got to make sure they're picking up the pace here. Not to trail too far behind. Putting yourself in a desperate situation as Prom and here actually looking pretty solid. 2 eliminations. All in all, they could have a little bit more heals to be desired, but the Dark Dominion, so much metal here to be farmed up. This is quite honestly one of the most excellent places you can just base down and chill out. As we talk about that, you see the big metal tower there right on top of the Dark Dominion. On the other side, you have Bucky and Zen. So obviously this is a team that is a favorite, right, for some of the community here. What do you think about Zen and Bucky right now?
I think honestly they have as good a chance as anybody at making it out of this heat. It was unfortunate, you know, before FNCS in Season 1 where they were landing at Quasi against OSID, against Noah Plays, multiple different trios. Sometimes it would actually be a contested drop. And you guys know Bucky, he's not going to back down. So I don't think he showed his full potential last season, but this is FNCS, this is Heat. He has an uncontested split drop, but I think him focusing on rotating early, trying to get in towards zone, trying to set up on a mountain so they can go ahead and get that surge would be the second part of their game plan.
Did find that stat to be interesting as well. They're just looking at best 16 at this point. So we'll see if they can pull it together, how much improvement they've been able to make over the week. Visuals and Braids, though, this is a team that I start to see their names, and I'm really it's calling to me. Veterans at this point now, right? They've been around the block for so long, and they've been in these settings. They've won games under FNCS pressure, finals pressure, right? So for Heats, I think this is a shoe-in team right here. And of course, anyone that's going to be in their line of sights is going to be in big trouble right now. So we'll see if Press and Crew rotating from the north sides going to be okay. And we'll tune back in with them in a second.
You see them kind of biding their time this season, just like last, with the heals around the map. You don't necessarily have to rush it at this point in the game. You can sit as long as you have some couple extra med kits, maybe some splashes to try to rotate in later after all the chaos drops down. But for teams like this, Dark Dominion, basically the center of the map here, they beat almost every other team to this position. And hopefully, if they played their cards right, they won't have to rotate far. And as long as they got their surge, that'll be 2 bonuses there, but there's no real reason for them to rotate around. You're seeing everybody in the surrounding distance, both high ground and low. You see Prom down below, just kind of waiting to the next stage of the game because of Storm Surge.
Jumping into the storm now with Dash and Boogie here. A little pressure coming from up top, down onto Phoebe and Dizzy's. They seem to be in no rush at the moment. They still have that slot pizza as well to go ahead and work. The advantage in their favor here. Great tags coming out so far. Just barely above the threshold. Not too sure if this is going to hold off very well. They might actually have to overdrive shock their way in and continue to keep the pressure on this rotate. For now, though, they're letting them burn through the builds and ease on out on the rotate, and they're just going to give it up. So they feel pretty content with the situation they've landed themselves in. I mean, Jacob, you think it's going to be the right move, or is that a slight mistake letting that team get away?
I think it's okay for now. It's about what you do after this, because they were able to get a little bit more surge for their totals, and because they're not rotating in right away, they don't have that immediate risk. But as every other team beats them, you're going to see it here in the minimap. The edge of the zone is going to become more and more stacked. So when they finally start to make their rotation into the zone, they have to play it perfectly, because they could be that chosen team, backside of zone, getting sprayed at by 3 or 4 of their opponents. So that's why you got to pick and choose when you wait the storm and when you beeline it to the zone itself.
Definitely a good shout on that one. Well, time is starting to tick now, even for Rise and Curly here. Rise picking up what I would consider one of the most skilled up-and-comers here in Curly, who's obviously had his breakout opportunity. He's leaning strong from the last year, right into this duo season, but 118 damage above. Things are starting to look a little bit dangerous here for the duos. They've kind of been passive, if you will, in this base. There goes the overdrive, so I'm looking to go ahead and get in on the push here. Shots come in, and Curly's got his back, so Rise escapes that bit of danger that he might have found himself in. And seems like the teams that's right below him, though, Day's team also pushing in. They might all be in trouble, but here's the team that's in true trouble. It's Cormac's gonna fall first.
Yeah, unfortunately, leaving his teammate by himself. 285 below. Active Storm Surge every 7 or so seconds. 25 damage. He has a good amount of shield. 2 more big pots left, but that's not going to be enough to outlast. He needs at least 2 eliminations full worth of damage. There goes his first opportunity here, but Storm Surge still taking him down. 1 shot away, he will fall, but now he has to pick and choose. What's more important, healing now or just trying to get that damage? Because the longer he waits, the harder it's going to be. But the second big pot has now already been used. It's now or never.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not sure if this mathing here, he might have needed to fight that team immediately, but no, he jumps in on Curly instead. A great, valiant tag, and he's still putting the pressure on. This might be super problematic for Curly and Rise, but Curly just slips out of there, inching his way up a layer, and Rise was there to back him up. But that just shows you too, look, this team needed that damage, right? They're still 56 below themselves.
Yeah, and it's because of the last 2 rotations. You know, when Rise was shockwaving across, he got tagged up a little bit. Now Curly rotating in, he got hit as well. 21 below the damage threshold, even with that elimination. And this is where you start to think, Rise, one of the greatest IGLs, you have a decent amount of heals. You can choose to out-heal this and try to get damage on this next rotation. It just all depends. Do you pull zone or does it pull further away? Because if it pulls further away from Rise and Curly, it just got even harder for them to get above that damage threshold.
That's right. And it's only a consideration when you have, yourself that close to the line, right? When you're far, a couple hundred damage off, all of a sudden becomes way more risky to go for that heal off. But we'll see. Looks like City Flexes still have a lot to worry about. 206 damage below for themselves right now, and they also pull zone, so this is pretty tough too. Not quite having like a line of sight, it seems like, on other opponents. The teams in the distance are all based in metal. No heals for this team. It's going to be all she wrote for them here in a couple moments. Rise and Curly sitting right underneath them. They hear the damage as well. They take full advantage here, so they might have just been gifted of a wonderful set of at least material, if nothing else, but we know for certain this team didn't have heals.
Yeah, the first elimination, he was so low on HP, Storm Surge struck him down. So if you guys don't know, when you're taking that active Storm Surge damage, you don't go down, you don't get knocked, you get fully eliminated. And Rise and Curly were able to wrap up that second elimination. And again, if you do not pull zone, it is so hard for you to keep up with Surge. That just goes to show how impressive right now Rise and Curly are actually performing to stay within that Storm Surge threshold, even when other players are forcing these fights.
Rotate now on the Dragon. 62 above, trying to push the fight there, but no, the edit comes through. Big punishment in return there. Flowberry missed grenade. Arguably used just because he had to. That just shows us a sign of desperation there. Back to Curly and Rise, though. They seem to have almost stabilized their situation, right?
Yeah, and right now, unless you get that far pull zone on the eastern side, which you can see in the minimap, nobody does, it's going to be relatively kind of game plan as usual for Rise and Curly, exactly what they practice. They have to rotate over a lot of teams, though, probably more than half of the lobby if they're looking to make it from point A to point B. Luckily for them, they were able to get some damage. We saw them below the damage threshold. Now we see them 235 above. Let's see if they can continue this performance, because they've been progressively getting better as the game does go on. But from Bucky and Zen, 356, and they have less of a rotation to make than Rise and Curly.
Definitely a little short move here to the left. I like it. Plenty of overdrive shockwaves. My gosh, I think they got about 8 if my count was correct. Not too much medium ammo to work with though, but the pressure is definitely available for them to go into use. Start looking at the rotates that start to come through. No one quite solidified as far as looking to take for high ground. One team seems to have already made that decision. Visual and Braids coming from the far side on the rotate here. Very cleanly done. No pressure coming in from anyone else as well, so they're just granted a clean walk in here.
Yeah, and you notice they used that overdrive shockwave grenade, but they used it in the box. They didn't want to use it to shockwave through the sky because that leaves you susceptible to taking damage. They just simply wanted that effect so they could do exactly what you said, walk their way in towards zone, and don't bring too much attention to what they do have going on. Aloe and Listen, they position themselves below the edge of that mountain. Found a big elimination there for the refresh. They don't necessarily need it in terms of their actual loadout. It's the materials, you know, that'll run dry as this game progresses.
Monsters game for them so far. 6 eliminations, still 50 players remaining here, so things are heating up for Ages and Rituals as well. Look at them cook here from the high ground, aiming down. It's fish in a barrel. Elim after Elim. Points are starting to rack up now, and that's going to be momentum as well. Don't forget, when you start getting that max material count late into the game like this, you will start seeing teams get very more aggressive for playing for high ground. Visitors and Braids opt to play the mid layer here. Still have a chance to do something big right now. Out they go through the side like this play, and up and over they go to the front side of zone. Braids is going to go ahead and play for the load to the mids. And it's Bucky and Zen who are slightly at the top. So I think we might have hyped them up a fair bit here. Jacob, what do you think?
This is looking good for Bucky, Zen, and Minish, Hobby, all of them on the high ground, but Curly and Rise still, Storm Surge really dictating their game plan. You saw them below the damage threshold, forced to get aggressive as a new team entered the mix. No more Hobby, no more Bucky. It's the Tick, it's Mafia. They have now taken it. 8 zones, so there's still 4 more left to go. Material looking light, especially with the Fizz and the Shockwaves. Anybody can threaten your high ground at a moment's notice. And there goes Zen, there goes Bucky from the backside of the zone. They get that first elimination and they claim it as their own.
It's their first Elim as well as a duo in this endgame here. Mafia gets finished as well, and just like that, it's a full clean house. Bucky now landing on top of the opponents here, reinforcing the base. He's got to be careful though. You see Creon there hopping on off, but here comes the reinforcement. It cost them a lot, but this is exactly the position you want to be in. And look at this, the terrain playing into their favor. Up and over the mountain it goes, and Rise though having to play the Flowberry missed here inside the zone for just some time. He's going to keep him alive, and off to the edge he goes. And pressure coming from up top. Bucky and Zen, of course, pick up another elimination. Things are starting to cook here.
This is going to be a big opportunity here for Bucky and Zen, because you have to remember the situation that this format plays into. Win, and you get directly into the grand finals. But from high ground to low, Aegis, Ritual, they're running through the mud right now, trying to take as much space and control, attacking while the Iron top. There was one team there, but they realized they already have the front side of the zone. There's not much for them to fight for, especially with 7 eliminations already.
This is the prime situation to be in here. You know, you got a big 7 on the board. All you need is some more placement points, and you are going to be coasting your way through on consistency alone. Braids and Visuals managed to get themselves back in the game here. A couple more mats, and you see Agers and Ritual starting to gas out here on their material count. So for them, it's likely going to be a low ground play here as they start looking to chop through these other layers here. Shadow, Virgo, we've kept them kind of under wraps, and they're on the ultimate low ground right now. Talk about that overdrive play there. Just go ahead and make sure that you have maximum stamina as they start working through the low ground. Meanwhile, Visuals lost Braids here. Pressure coming in. Off he goes. Set running through and probably into the hands of Shadows there shortly.
Yeah, big elimination as well for Nut as he takes down Agers, leaving another player as a solo. As Bucky and Zen, all these recycled builds, it cuts back in their favor. It's almost smooth sailing. As long as they don't make a mistake, this game might be theirs. But Visual, he's smoothly moving through underneath, trying to stay to the front side of zone. Ritual as well, but eventually these guys will clash. And there's so many other duos left in the mix, just trying to go ahead and win this game, or at least get points. Because remember, top 10 after the day is over will also advance to the grand finals.
There it is, the clash already starting to happen here. Ritual finally forced to defend themselves, finds Shadow, and that's a monstrous tag. Sets them off on the back foot as the zone bounces back, and Ritual thinking twice about going through that build there.
Shadow and Virgo, you can see even though they have the strength in numbers as a duo, they're running low on HP. Aminished as well, but he finds a quick elimination there onto Noisy, picks up all the siphon mats, and now he's looking up, saying, hey, this might be the chance. Bucky and Zen have been holding it for so long, at least 4 zones. They might be low on materials. Ritual just trying to get a couple more placement points, but it's Shadow and Virgo down below that are trying to pressure the situation. With no builds left, he might need a miracle.
Yeah, I like it though. 5 elims for them now. They actually found themselves a bit of a refresh. There goes that overdrive once again here. So plenty to work with, but these are no slouch duos left in the lobby. Javi, of course, just above them. And this always comes down to who initiates against who first here. Of course, you got the high ground team looking down. You got Ritual kind of just a lurker in the middle here, playing the sandwich. Off to the front side he goes. He's taking way too much damage now. He's going to be forced here to do something big. Just trying to run around and buy himself some time. But no, Javi comes down, lays down the smash there. Here comes the Minish there. It's a nasty fight down low. Zen actually falls first, and there's a big problem now. Minish has a chance to win. The shockwave is not fast enough, though, and it's going to come down to Shadow and Virgo versus Bucky in a heal-off. Who do you think got it, Jacob?
Yeah, Zen played Disruptor there in that moment, allowing for Bucky to get away, but did he do a good enough job? One is already down. Virgo's looking for heals. He doesn't get the look. Bucky and Zen in one game have qualified for the FNCS Grand Finals.
Hey, we might have gave him some good casters luck for once. You know, we said that the community was hyping them up. Let's see what Bucky can do and what can Zen do to back him up with it, and they pull off a victory royale. And Jacob, you saw there, it was better than any other performance they had before, so well played to them. Either way, Heat 1, Game 1 is now wrapped, Zeke.
Bucky! Let's go! I cannot believe this. Bucky, let's go. Grand finals time. Now we're going to look to try and compete, make it to the summit. You know, Vivid, I think it's really funny that you brought up right before this. We're watching this kind of unfold, and we look up and we're like, oh, wow, Bucky, Zen on height, 9th zone. That's crazy. What did you tell us, Vivid? What did you tell us?
So I was watching Aussie earlier, right, doing a little viewing party of EU, and he was like, yeah, listen, guys, we're going to be watching NA later. We have to kind of like hate watch Bucky because we don't want Bucky to do good this season, because if he qualifies and plays in the Summit in-person event going on later this year, then he's not going to be able to be on stream and kind of be that supporting caster on Aussie's stream this year. And listen, Aussie, I'm sorry, man. Bucky's done it again. One step closer to qualifying to the Summit. One of our first teams over here on NA to qualify to the Grand Finals next week, and he just does it, Kelly. He just does it in Bucky fashion.
I mean, there was moments there. You can see they're down to 16 builds, although at zone 12, that's still pretty good. They played it so well. They knew exactly when they kind of needed to drop down. They handled Javi and Aminish going up for them really well. And then you heard the casters call it. Zen kind of playing this disruptor, which allowed Bucky to go back, find some heals, and then get the heal off win. And when it comes down to heats, that's what it's all about. Having that strategy in mind, knowing exactly what your win condition needs to be. And Bucky and Zen bring that out in game number 1.
That picture of me of Bucky was my reaction when I was like, the moment we saw him out in zone, and I was like, oh no, he has one med kit, but just off to the left, slice of pizza. Love to see it. Congratulations to Bucky and Zen. Big moment for you guys. It means next time we'll see you is next weekend in the Grand Finals. Now, more did transpire in that game, but first, a break. When we return, we'll break things down and get ready for game number 2. Welcome back, Fortnite fam. In case you missed it, Bucky and Zen picked up the Victory Royale in game number 1, which means they're going straight to the Grand Finals next weekend. In case you missed it, Bucky was actually streaming his perspective with a 5-minute delay. Go watch that reaction. It's ice cold. It's Bucky. It's awesome. Congrats to the duo. Now, of course, we still have a tournament to go, right? We got 4 more games, 4 more VRs to be had. So let's take a look at the leaderboard. Let's see how things are kind of shaping up after that first game. As we kind of look up to the top here, obviously don't freak out. The 1,000 points, that just means, hey, they got themselves a VR. They're moving on. So now we look down. Shadow and Virgo currently with 72 points sitting at the top of the leaderboard. We were kind of hyping these guys up at the start of show. And I mean, to come out with a bang like this and to be first on that leaderboard, that's a pretty good showing, Kelly.
I mean, yeah, you know, Vivid's going to talk about it as soon as I'm done talking, but Shadow has just been such a top competitor for so long, and to see them kind of running the low ground right here, playing so well, especially when they're kind of going up against a lot of other big names that kind of were relegated to low ground there, for them to kind of play the side, play it passively, not necessarily go for eliminations like we've seen them do in the past, though, Vivid, and just play out the game, that's what I like to see.
Yeah, incredible for them to kind of make it all the way to the end game. We were kind of talking about it after the game ended, man. All of our top teams that we were kind of expecting to do well today were all alive towards the end of that one. And you can see it on the leaderboard. It shows it. Ritual and Adris following up just 5 points behind Shadow and Virgo. And yeah, they were actually just playing that end game very, very well. Like, obviously, we know high ground always does good. Low ground always does good, usually in the past couple of metas. But Ritual and Adris, they were actually playing the majority of this end game throughout that mid ground, just picking up enough elimination to go ahead and sustain throughout all of that. It just worked so well for them. And they did need a little bit of a solo clutch towards the end because one of them did go down, but just worked out so well. I mean, second on the consistency leaderboard right now. Absolutely phenomenal spot to be sitting.
Yeah, it was Adris that went down a little, or I say early. He went down to like zone 11, but Ritual, the way that he played that solo situation really impressed me. When I was watching it around zone 10, they were kind of staying at the front of zone, but then as soon as Adris goes down, Ritual plays the passive playstyle, and that's exactly what you need. Ritual was able to kind of play the mid-ground zone, and obviously when it's just 3 teams left and you're stuck in the middle, there's only so much you can do. But to see Ritual be able to just shift gears so quickly once he loses his teammate is just always what impresses me about him.
Yeah, we love Richie on this broadcast, okay? And we will forever love to see them. I also wanted to highlight here in third place, Javi and Diminished. Obviously, at the beginning of the show, you know, Kelly pulled out a conspiracy board and we had to cut her off before she got to talk about Javi and Diminished.
What are you talking about?
But man, to see these guys now in third place as well. I mean, guys, this is looking really good. And I have to say, just a fantastic start. You know, the first game of FNCS back, I love to see that. But talk to me about Javi and Diminished. We didn't have time to talk about them in the beginning of the show, but these guys are currently sitting in third place. That's pretty dang good.
I mean, coming out of heats in first place, although it is heats, that is still incredibly impressive. They're also landing Dark Dominion uncontested right now in this heat. Honestly, everything is just spelling for their success, Vivid.
Yeah, just doing super, super good. One of the other teams that we're going to be watching today, Visual and Raids, of course, well-known duo. It's actually their trio mate in Diminished, right? So when we kind of talked about, or when we kind of mentioned Visual and Braids ending the year with double force in major number 2 and major number 3, Diminished was right there with them. So finished the year very, very good last year as Diminished, and then going to go ahead and pick up Javi right here. Not necessarily a player known for any pop-up performances or any like notable placements in FNCS Grand Finals, but for some reason, like Kelly mentioned, coming out of the play-ins, they got first place there, so they were like the best team kind of coming into heats. They got thrown into heat number 1, and kind of seeing them in the end game, they did have that high ground for a split second at the end of that game, so would not be surprised to kind of see them continue to find success in these end games, playing so good.
And you know, like, I just feel like this is such a different like tone of FNCS, right? Because normally it's like, oh, we're just in Major 1, we're playing for Grands, but now it's like Grands, yeah, that's pretty good, but there's also a Summit like right after that. That seems pretty good. Maybe I want to try and make that. So I don't know, I think a lot of these teams are thinking the same thing. How do we secure a spot on the battle bus going to the Summit? With that being said, though, we'll talk about that more later on. For now, game number 2 is ready, so casters, over to you.
Already things are heating up. A huge battle for the high ground. Multiple teams involved, but congratulations again to Bucky and Zen. But 1 game down, 4 games left to go. Instead of the usual 6, Monster, things will continue to fly by.
Yeah, and I mean, the vibes are looking pretty good right now. If you're Ages of Ritual, though, talk about just control, right? This should be a shoo-in for them moving forwards again. At this point in time, they've got everything they need to go ahead and keep pushing through. And Shadow, of course, popping off in Virgo hasn't looked any better, Jacob. So I'm really excited after seeing game 1, as we almost just got a sample of what this heat, of course, has to offer.
Yeah, we saw a little bit in EU where there was like a point threshold where a team, I think in 9th place, went down and they lost their shot at the actual finals through heat. They're going to have to play through LCQ. So as the day continues to progress, I'm going to be looking at some of those teams on the bubble and how well they hold on to the pressure. But game 2 is here, so let's jump right into it.
Heat 1's game 2 is now on the way. You know, the action here was very, very nice in game number 1 is we had about 86 or so players drop just coming out of zone 1. So I'm really curious to see if we'll see 10 or 15 players fall even faster now. Usually, traditionally on NA, Jacob, as you know, game 1's the slowest, but Heat 1 seems to be moving relatively nicely as far as pace is concerned.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be dictated all the same here. It's a pickaxe battle, something you don't even necessarily see every day. Shockwaves to create a little bit of distance. Out comes the first AR. Flies is able to get at least one player down weak, but Nut and Prom survive the onslaught. They're able to get the drop to themselves, and those are the fights I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but it also comes with the drop sometimes.
I was going to say, that's not strategy. That's just rolling the dice at this point, you know, just whatever happens, how it lands, it'll land. But at the end of the day, hey, they get to continue to do what they've been doing. They made the most out of the game 1, obviously, because they're up in that high 50-point threshold. So it's great momentum for them. Meanwhile, Blake and Preston trying to make the most of their drop spot here at the Latte Landing and actually catch themselves a nice elim. So putting themselves on the board here.
Yep, and throughout most of the season, too, Blake was somebody through different teammates that always landing towards Fort Field. And I'm not sure what prompted the change, but maybe if you know you're going to be contested, because that's what history says for someone like Blake, might as well make it worth it. Switch on over towards Latte Landing, so if you do win the fight, you get a lot for it. They already have one elimination, and they're just looking for that solo player, Plezzy, who's just hiding around the corner. And so it's very, very important for Blake and Preston to check all of these corners together as a team so they can at least trade out the shots. Plezzy hits the first. Blake gets dropped down to about 50 HP. Quickly slides out the window. Now trying to put some damage onto Preston, but that time and moment has come and gone.
Yeah, I was going to say, big threat coming out of the shot there, but unfortunately couldn't get the follow-up or lock him up. So this is going to be only a matter of time for Plezzy now if he can't find a way to exit. They've lost him for a second here, so he's been very hard to pin down.
It's one of those things to where how much time do you spend looking for him before you kind of continue on with the rest of the game? And for Plezzy, not sure if he's playing for the actual reboot card or to catch him off guard yet again. Missed that first opportunity exactly. Blake is going to be able to stay alive, return back to the scene of the crime, try to land some damage onto Plezzy. Preston gets into the mix as well, and they get that elimination. It may have taken more time than they have hoped, Monster, but at least they got the job done.
Yeah, Blake and Preston deserve that elimination there. You can't miss your shots when you're under pressure. He had the one-on-one opportunity for Agers and Ritual, though, like we said, pretty much the most chill duo in this lobby as far as the top pros are concerned. You know, they're all business. No games here. Like what we're seeing, though. Hit their drop in and out and already off to the races here. Look at the highlight for the Ewan, though. This is how they clean up blows here. Too smooth.
It's actually good. I thought we were going to see them kind of fly off of Sandy Strip with the blob that they use, with the shockwave grenade, but no, clean, simple, sticking to the game plan, just a different fashion. On over to Painted Palms. Last game, Monster, we saw Rise and Curly actually split this drop. I'm not sure how much that played in a role into them being below the damage threshold for a good portion of the early game, but this time around, it seems like they're refusing to actually split it unless they get forced by some other way.
Yeah, I'd argue that this is working right for them. They were in way too much of a stressful situation, given that they, again, like you just mentioned, played it very passively and moved out. I'd like to see them engage a little sooner, not have that early surge issue, and then go for better positioning later. And as we talk about that, unfortunately, Jesus just gets gifted the team that was lurking nearby, so could have arguably earned those points themselves. But on over to Shadow and Virgo here for a moment. We've got Nut and Prom on the back heels here, pushing back. Seems like their ambush was a bit of a failed attempt here.
Not bad, but also not too surprising from Shadow and Virgo. They kind of land just south of Frigid Fortress. They go ahead and loot up rather quickly, and then they kind of get options depending on where the zone is actually going. They can stay at their POI if it's moving towards the north, but they also have quick access to multiple mountains on the south side of the zone if it does pull in that direction. They might have to go through a few teams, but it also works in their benefit because they're able to get surge just like you see there. And all over the map, you're seeing so many different strategies. Some OG, just like the bush camp, just wait and see if somebody makes a mistake. And right now, Snake just was a little bit too out in the open by himself. Boogie and Cash, they cash in on that damage.
Nicely done for them. A little bit of initiation, but they have a lot to be desired. Not too much medium ammo here. It's going to be almost dependent on the pistol. And realistically, they need to get back to looting or finish up this fight quickly. They'll be in for a bad mid-game. Jumping over to Broken and Sandman. Yeah, this is going. Quick little set of eliminations here at Squiggly Shores. Clean things up, and that's going to be the full finish. So they have a chance now to go in and get back in the game, too. Always tell by the lack of builds, of course, what teams have been in extended standoffs, if you want to call it that.
Especially a spot like this where you can easily max out your break, 500 mats there, but seeing how they actually were able to pick up that elimination kind of quickly in a 2v1, and that's what happens when you have the numbers advantage. Some teams will back off, let the solo escape, maybe go for the reboot later. Others just simply play aggressive. 3 points per elimination when it's 5 teams getting in through a win, that top 10 going to the leaderboard. Sometimes 3 points. We've seen FNCS decided by less.
Agers, Ritual taking tab name for a little bit of a trip here. Are they gonna pull that strategy we saw where they throw him in the reboot van and just hold him down?
Oh no!
Is that what they're doing? Do they have that much time right now? What's going on? Are they gonna throw him into this and heal him? Okay, yeah. I like what I'm
We're
watching.
just seeing, and it's honestly, do you give all your strategies here in heats, or are they just trying to put it in a spot that you can't easily grab the reboot card? Because yes, you can still buy it for 500 gold. It's not as easy to come across that 500 gold depending on where you land.
I like this too. I like this. Like, oh, you want his reboot? Go ahead and build up there. We'll see you when we see you, buddy. There you have it. So, just like that. I'm not sure what Tapney did to deserve that. You know, I was talking about Aegis and Ritual, all business, no games. And I don't know, maybe I just cursed it. It's got to happen at least once. But you have it.
I actually did want to see the reboot strategy though, where you just kind of throw them in, get free damage.
That would be great.
Maybe it's a little bit too early. We are still in heats, but so much action going down. We see the Agers, Ritual get an elim, Skittler there, get another elim, and it just goes to show, like, hey, if you're one of those teams that land just on the edge of the map, depending on where the zone pulls, you don't really have much time to loot up and get early Storm Surge. And the way these games have been going, I think you said about 86 people up in Game 1 when Storm Surge popped. Well, guess what? Right now, there's 81. Storm Surge is going to pop soon.
Yeah, but still on pace, right? Very fast game so far as the action here on the NA region. Bilge and Aoxy, very consistent, smooth team. They've been in so many endgame finals. They seem to have things under control here. You gotta appreciate a team that's just able to kind of farm up good tags, find their knocks, right? And really not have to overexert themselves. They're not even getting greedy to finish up the healing. So really showing you the temperament, right, of a team that has been in finals before.
Looking off in the distance. Avenger Sniper won the actual fight for Wonky Land, but they're having some trouble gaining some traction from there. Couple of reboots, and Sniper Dude's still by himself. Across the map, Slips, Toronto. Decent performance from Toronto and Slips in Game 1. 9th place overall with 8 elims, put them 6th place on the actual leaderboard. And if you're looking at consistency, you know, that was actually 5th place because Bucky and Zen have already qualified. So they just have to stay within this point threshold. And with the zone pulling north, the team in front of them, this is not going to be an easy game for Toronto and Slips to make it through.
Good point, man. Having 50 points, you got a huge, I'd say 2 feet in the room, not a foot in the door. You're standing in the room right now because they're on their way. You know, for some, you have the pressure of actually having good points for the first time in this type of setting. It could be an extra bit of stress that actually breaks you. Working Sniper dude, in the same situation. We talk about teams that are actually looking really good after a game win here. 68 points for this team. Not bad. And they have the wonky land under control right now. There is a team there. But I'd probably assume that they have the damage they need. So we'll see if they actually force this fight.
It's going to be a thin line that they're going up against. Left Team Wagers were actually the team that took down Avenger after the reboot. And you can kind of see they're not necessarily fighting for the points. That's bonus, but it's that mending machine over at Wonky Land. So you can either get the patch up or the actual med kits to extend your stay in the actual storm, which allows you to kind of miss out on this kind of chaotic portion of the game, which is why we see so many teams last season and this season stay as long as they have in the actual zone. Up until I think it's zone 5, it is going to be a 1 tick, then it goes to 2, and then it goes to a 5 tick. And Storm Surge doesn't really even give you the warning until 500 damage. And at 600 damage, that's when you actually start to take the sickness. So for the early portions of the game, Monster, it's a very viable strategy.
You have to appreciate the lengths of which pros find new ways every season, regardless of the loot pool changes, on how to extend their lives in the storm for longer and longer. The Creon in Dragon, we're doing the opposite of that. Early positioning here is going to play to their advantage. However, no Elins. So this is super important. They land these tags on teams moving by and might even have to overdrive their way into one. There's the minute-half warning now.
This is where this end game, I'm not going to say it's starting to scare me, but you can see the waterfall, mountain ranges, hills, dips, dives. So if you're not prepared for a possible end game that can go up and down, a lot of these mountains start to reserve, and think about your material count and resources overall. It could get chaotic, but you see 143 above for the Tick and Mafia. 143, it's above the damage threshold, so you know you're not going to take damage, but it's only zone 4, so that threshold is going to continue to increase. So for the Tick and Mafia, you just got to hope 143 is enough if you're not going to continue to get damage here.
Yeah, this can go either way, but it is not going to be enough to kind of go the distance. We'll see which of these guys ended up cracking first under pressure. Who really, amongst all these duos, needs the damage? They'll be the first to get lobby focused. Day and Scuffy's though on the move right now. I feel like they don't want to have anything to do with these two teams that are trailing behind them right now. Oh yeah, it's gross here. Just picked up his teammate. Oh no, Jesus is having a really hard time with it. He just got rebooted, all of them tagged up. Scuffy lets his guard down, and that duo from behind insta knocks him right now. And there was, oh no, he was chilling in the bush there, Jacob.
Yeah, this is a dramatic turn of events for Day and Scuffy. They were above the damage threshold. They thought they could take advantage of the fresh reboot. Unfortunately enough, City is just hiding in that bush, gets good damage onto one, and now it's essentially going to be a fight for the reboot. Day versus City here, who's only 3 above the damage threshold, 57 above. So this is going to be one of those fights where even if you win, you can find yourself below the damage threshold. First shot's going to go to City. Day fires back. He has a little bit of a lead over the control, but the third-party shots come in. The elimination goes to Day. Luckily, he's going to grant him that siphon to allow him to stay just a little bit longer in the storm, because we know he needs the reboot.
Sometimes you need a little bit of luck, right? The storm getting the finish off, him getting the damage credit, the siphon kicks in. It just doesn't get better than that. And just like that, he might just be able to get that reboot back in here and now, but it could be risky too. Might just call for, of course, that dude to move in. Meanwhile, we're just in Agers. Last time we was here, we obviously saw them just dumping the body up top in the box of Tabney, and they haven't quite left this spot here. They're 800 damage above the threshold, so things have seemingly gone very well for them.
Yeah, we're going to see them kind of use those splashes, get the HP. They have their mending machine that they try to use for a long time. And these tricks right here, they're using the overdrive, getting the effect from the actual shockwave grenade, and then they're shooting the blob, which launches them so far away. And while you see the benefits of Sandy Strip for a team like Ritual and Agers, but as soon as they make it in towards the zone, they become the chosen team. Multiple others start to fire off in this direction, but they make it in on the edge. The pressure slows down. So for now, they're going to be A-okay because they pulled zone as well.
Dang, zone landing right on top of them is perfect. And they'll be able to fish for eliminations. They already know there's all types of teams, not only, of course, in front of them, but the few that were behind them as well. So what a key position to be in. And I don't blame him for going straight into that metal box here. So it seems like everything is just starting to stack into their favor here now. And this is the type of spot they want to be in too. They seem to have enjoyed the low ground coming out of game 1.
If you kind of look at it from the overhead, there are teams around them, but there's nobody that they immediately need to be worried about. Even though we haven't seen them build up and elevate their position, that's just because they're already in zone. We did see Day go down in the distance. Storm Surge, if you're not planning accordingly, it does start to dictate your game plan. You fall below, especially at a time like this. You almost have to fight the nearest team, and that's why you're seeing Curly Rise proactive. They already have their spot in zone, so they're just using their position here to try to get damage on any team shockwaving in.
They're just waiting for Wager's team to open that box. Seems like they have a little sense that danger might be nearby, so not trying to move too soon. Looking around for tags. Oh no, I was gonna say someone that might be looking to take a fight, but not without the side duo here, so it's going to be a very rough spot to live for any single player, let alone a solo right now. Someone just got eliminated to the Storm Surge just right as all that's going down.
Yeah, it would have been a nice try for him to try to get the loot, but you're still below the damage threshold. Timing is just not on your side, and with no extra hills, 132, almost half of elimination here. Just hoping that somebody makes a mistake that he could try to beam, but now falling 300 below. He has to get in the box. Good damage onto one. Almost gets the knock onto JoJo, but it's not going to last. A few seconds. Storm Surge activates and he goes down. You got to give him the valiant effort for that one.
That was crazy, but talk about unfortunate for JoJo and Oxygen. Just the full wrap up too. That timing couldn't have been worse as the fresh metal edit comes through. They were changing layers. What was going to happen? I'm back with Virgo and Shadow here. 300 damage above the threshold. No elims for this team, but Trouble in Paradise either. They're chopping their way through these enemy builds here, trying to see if there was any danger lurking nearby. They're trying to move their way into the storm here early now. Seem really safe here for a brief moment. That's a big edit. No shot, though, found in the follow-up. Meanwhile, Curly seems to be controlling a bit of that mid to high ground to be here. We'll see if they end up being the first team going up for the top. Ages and Rituals POV, though. 3 elims right now. Again, another team that has had just quite the phenomenal performance here in Game 2. Looking way better than what we saw them in Game 1 endgame. I like this spot that they're in.
Got my wow, just seeing Preston get beamed right there, just kind of getting caught off guard. Now Blake as well going in for the loot. He is below the damage threshold, so maybe can kind of use a fight, but against Curly, against Rise, it may not be the duo I'd want to go against, especially now the third-party shots are coming in from behind. It does still settle for this moment for Blake. He is above the damage threshold, but he is by himself as a solo in 26 place, or 26 teams, I should say, still up. So one more team needs to go down. Placement points will start to set in, with the meat of those placement points coming inside of the top 10.
Big tag right there. The finish as well. Great refresh there in this end game here. And talk about that terrain, right? We saw a little bit of that dangerous terrain before, and this is coming up and over that vertical mountain lip there. So giving a bit of an extra problem to go ahead and deal with. And look at this, it's allowing a lot of teams to start positioning super high up now. So this is not looking like your traditional end game. Almost like a zone war end game, to be honest, off the layers here. Hobby in a minute, though, have full control of the situation. Calypso's going to go and get knocked there. They're thinking about possibly jumping in for the finish, for the refresh. Nope, they don't want to give it away. Here comes the choke point from both sides, both angles. Calypso does not get picked up the save by his teammate. There goes the full finish. Close, but no cigar. Start looking up top. It's the Tickin' Mafia. They're getting a lot of showtime here today.
Yep, unfortunately, Mafia, no. I'm not sure what happened to him. Probably got chopped. I don't see any shield, so I don't think it was fall damage. We'll probably figure that one out later, but the Tick, there's no use complaining about it. He has to figure out what he's going to do here as a solo. Top 23, so many points left on the board. So if you're going to have a big game, It's on your shoulders as an individual. And you said it before in that last zone. Nobody is really claiming that high ground just yet. Nobody is solidifying as the team to beat up above. But QK, Expo, they're trying to be the ones. They shockwave through the sky. They see nobody claiming it as their own. They said, you know what? We'll take it for ourselves.
I like what they do, getting immediately to the pressure here as well for the other teams on the mid layers. Exactly how you got to play it. You know what? I want to keep eyes on the tick as well. This is his time to shine here. That game one, like we talked about, there's a few teams that outperformed, right, as they're possibly making their first finals here up ahead. So for them to have a position and opportunity, I think clutch is going to be super important. But Ager's Ritual using that shockwave, not to rotate, but again to give themselves that unlimited stamina here for the rotate. Probably watching it play out there. Pizza coming into hand and going to be the HP heals they need, but it seems like they're going to be having to fight for a siphon here and now. Relating materials for Aegis and Rituals. There goes the edit there, Jacob, and the choke point comes through, and of course, leave it to Aegis to find it.
Yeah, running dangerously low on material. They know if they're going to make it through the hard portion of this game, top 17 into the top 8 or even better, they're going to need resources. But now both of them missing a huge chunk of HP, all of their shields, but they're still fighting for it. Agers lands a big shot, unable to get the elimination yet. Aminish and Hobby are taking high ground while all this is going down. Agers can't seem to find his way back to Ritual. So now Ritual is going to be left by himself. Curly and Rise, they're getting near that same sort of situation because both of them might be out of builds.
Yeah, Curly and Rise were actually the disruptors to the high ground, and Minish and Hobby took full advantage of that distraction, and now they are up here with no problems. And look, Curly's not done yet. He finds an Elim. It was at the expense of Rise, but it's all good. He's got the pizza to stay alive in the game as well here and now. And it's almost a top 5 situation, so plenty of consistency coming out here for Curly now. Who's left in the game, though? Noisy, Neo still here. Creon and Blake are still also kind of in the mix, but it is not looking good for them as Aminish and Hobby have just so much going in their favor here.
Yeah, even Blake running around as a solo. Him and Curly, the only solos left in this lobby, but that's not going to slow him down. Even Ritual is trying to get into the mix. Aminish using so many of his heals with him and Hobby on the high ground. They have the luxury to do it. But we're going to jump on board Curly. 98 points. Him and Rise are starting to build that momentum. You see the win condition in the back pocket. Multiple chug-chugs. He went through the pizza. He's just trying to last long enough to get these points as Hobby and Aminish are dropping down. They know the time has come. Over towards Sandy's strip. They're trying to get these eliminations. They're trying to force everybody down low to clash as we get into the final 2v2.
This is it. Noisy and Neo, 9 elims, possibly pushing for 10 or 11 here and now, but this building is just buying them so much time now. You couldn't call a stronger endgame, a weirder endgame for both teams. And look, they both have mats as well, so this is going to go the distance. But if you're Minish and Hobby, this is not what you want at all, Jacob. They don't have heals to really go the further, but Noisy and Neo try to force the fight here up and over to the side. A Minish goes up just to get that visual from up top. Great tag so far, and this is really going any way right now.
Yeah, he does a pre-shockwave to make sure Noisy and Neo can't shockwave up. He has the Mythic, so one pump is around any one of these corners, but Aminish is making sure to keep his distance, letting Hobby drop down low, play the Disruptor, but the elimination comes through. That Siphon on him could be the difference. Could you see his HP going up? Neo with just a sliver left, and they have done it. Noisy and Neo have clutched up and stolen that game away from Rise and Curly.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, and Hobby and Aminish, of course, being in the final stretch, they're a good fight there, Jacob, as they went the distance. But who would have thought Neo and Noisy were gonna be the team to go ahead and pull through and send themselves straight through the finals? Now, that's a huge win here in game number 2. Heat 1 already starting to give us some very interesting action. And Zeke, we still got the big boys in the lobby.
Bro, why are we coming down to these nail-biter games, man? I'm sitting there on the edge of my seat watching like, wait a minute, and Jacob's calling out this, and oh my gosh, and then boom, it goes the way of Noisy and Neo. For them, this is huge, right? Just think, we come into today, we have 5 games to try and make something happen, and you get a victory out in game number 2. I mean, Kelly, you gotta be like, all right, pressure's off, it's good, I'll see you guys in finals.
I mean, 100%. The pressure was definitely on for this duo, especially considering kind of how new they are as a duo. Noisy and Neo played that end game so well, so patiently. There was a moment there where I definitely thought it was going to be Hobby and Aminish. They played the high ground really passively. But honestly, when you just have more than the other duo, Vivid, all you kind of have to do is just wait a little bit, wait for them to drop down, and that's exactly what Noisy and Neo did.
Yeah, they played that perfectly right. We saw those 2 eliminations kind of happen on the 2 solos of the lobby. So all those materials kind of fell right into their pocket, and something else falling right into their pocket. A ticket straight to the grand finals. And big news here, it's actually going to be the first time we see Neo in an FNCS grand final. So congratulations to him, and for Noisy, just the 4th time over there as well. So like Kelly mentioned, new players to the scene when it comes to these grand finals, but after watching that game right there, they look like vets.
Woo! I am excited. Now, of course, action is not over. We still have 3 games to go. First, really quick, in case you missed it, the Triple Threat Bundle is out in the item shop right now. Check it out. My gosh. Shout outs to Somerset, to Reddish, and to Moxie. But guys, this is such an amazing time. Again, I can't get over FNCS is back, baby. It feels so good to be back in the FNCS mindset, to see all the pros, to see the kind of tech and how people are adapting. I'm telling you, Kelly, everyone's thinking about that summit. It's in the back of the mind, isn't it? Global is not that far away. Summit, very soon.
It's really added a whole nother level of pressure onto all of our teams. We've never had something like this before. We've seen teams do well in like Major 1, or maybe they don't do well in Major 1 when they're like, oh, well, we still have the rest of the year to kind of prove ourselves, get our spot at the Global Championships. But everyone wants to go to this Major 1 summit. It's something completely new. And Vivid, I don't know about you, but I think a lot of these teams are probably putting in a little bit more effort to qualify this time around.
Definitely. All right. That's why we saw so many switches coming into this specific major. And you can just tell that it's an FNCS lobby. We've kicked things off just by how many players are alive in some of these early games, right? And how Storm Surge is just hurting everybody in the lobby.
3 games more, 3 more victory royales, or we hope to end in the top 10. First, a break. When we return for FNCS. See you in a bit. Welcome back, Fortnite fam. In case you missed it, game number 2 went over to Noisy and Neo, which means they're good. They're like, hey, we got to play no more FNCS. Now we can focus on next weekend, grand finals next weekend, and eventually that summit. But man, oh man, there's still 3 games left to go. If you don't know, we either want a victory royale or we want to end in the top 10, which means we will make a spot in the grand finals. Guys, we have 3 games left to go. We're almost halfway through, and there's still a lot of teams I feel like could have already gotten themselves a victory royale. I mean, if I'm looking at that leaderboard, I'm looking right at the top, Javi and Aminish, right? We've already seen 2 fantastic games from them. You know, if we just stop the competition right now, yeah, they go through in the top 10. That's all great, but I mean, I don't know, Kelly, 3rd place, 6 elims, 2nd place, 2. Like, I'm thinking we can see a VR pretty soon.
I mean, it's highly possible, but you know what? Javi and Aminish, they finished the play-ins in 1st place, so maybe that's just what they want. They really like that 1st place next to their name, so they don't want to get the auto-qual. They want to get 1st place through consistency. But regardless, what really impressed me about this duo right here was their push for height that they saw. What they did for this height push really impressed me. They waited for Curly to actually go for height first against QK and EXO, and then after Curly went up, that is when they went up, and allowing that kind of few second players to kind of third party for height is what allowed them to claim it for themselves. It ultimately didn't go the way that they wanted, but still, to see that height play, I can definitely see them going for it again in game 3, Vivid.
Yeah, something that impressed me was actually taking a look at how many eliminations they picked up that game. It was only 2, 1 each on both of them, and to kind of survive all the way to 2nd place is very tough to do in end games like that, right? Because you usually need the refreshes to kind of keep your game going, but they must have played a very good game when it came down to the rotates, because only 2 eliminations, picked up maybe even 2 refreshes there, and not only building up on the hype, but making it all the way to the end of the game. Super impressive stuff.
You're talking about eliminations. Look at Agers and Ritual, right? 14 already. These guys are here to slay. And I think it's interesting that you bring that up, right, Vivid? Because on one side, we see, hey, we have a duo that's not really picking up impacts, right? They're not really finding these extra materials. Agers and Ritual, though, they're getting active. They're looking for eliminations. They have mats, they have weapons, ammo, everything you could need. So, I mean, we could see a victory royale coming out of them, right, Viv?
Yeah, I mean, it would not be surprising to kind of see them win the game. I guess, you know, kind of coming into heat number 1, I would have actually bet that Ritual and Aegis would have been one of our first teams to win one of these early games right here. They're still playing very, very well, as you can see, based on the leaderboard right there, and obviously the eliminations that they're picking up as well. But yeah, I mean, they're just doing such a good job with those eliminations. They're at the top of the leaderboard when it comes to those specific eliminations, and they just got to keep the ball rolling.
You know, luckily, thanks to our Kench stats, we actually have the number for the finals VRs that they have coming out of the Div Cup finals. And they only have 2 victory royales out of the Div Cup finals that we've seen for this chapter. And Agers and Ritual, although they are consistently in the top of our leaderboard, for me, it is more so the fact that they are just consistent. They don't necessarily need to go for the win, but they are just such a consistent duo, Zeke.
I love that. I love the consistency. And as well, in case you missed it on that leaderboard, 7th place, Curly and Rise, right? We kind of got eyes on them. I want to make sure we're keeping them close to see if they can make it through either consistency or on that victory royale, right? Because we do have some high expectations, but I'm feeling like they can maybe pull it through. Guys, we're getting ready to jump back in game number 3. VR or top 10? Let's get it. Casters, over to you.
Yeah, that's right. Things are definitely picking up here. And you know what? I was looking at Neo's Twitter there, and you know, it's his first time going to finals, so congrats for him. They seem to be very excited. As Noisy said, we are the best Mexican players out here. So I love to just see the celebrations, folks making their first finals. But this is just one more step, Jacob, for them going to win.
Yep, they just head and continue that same performance. Not going to be as easy in finals, but at least they got themselves an opportunity. But we go ahead and look at that leaderboard. The top 10 is where it's really going to matter after all the games are said and done, and those teams already advanced to the grand finals. So you look at Javi and Minish, you look at Agers, Ritual, even Shadow and Virgo. They're so high up on the leaderboard, they just need to do the bare minimum to secure that spot. It's the other teams that I might begin to get worried about.
Yeah, if you're already breaking that 100-point threshold, you're pretty much a shoo-in. Seems like you're on pace to make your top 10. And, you know, it's a short day today. 5 games, that's it. 2 already out, of course, as we only have 3 more left, of course, with this one in front of us. So with the battle bus ringing out, Jacob, let's go ahead and go on them one more time.
This is essentially the halfway point throughout today's tournament. As Monster said, 5 games instead of the usual 6. So if you find yourself running out of time, that could be why. And you kind of look at the leaderboard. I talked about Hobby, Ager, Shadow, even our analysts talked about it. But as you continue to go down the leaderboard, you see how tight of a race it actually is. If you think top 15 after the 5 teams qualify, right now it's only 57 points. Only 1 point kind of separates a couple of these teams. And back to this fight, straight 50-50. They go for the chest down below. Nut and Prom seem to have this one on lock.
And when you get that elim this fast, right? You're beating them to the drop. You're finding that, weapon first essentially and getting the full elim. I mean, it just doesn't get better than that because you're getting your points, you're getting quick damage, and then you get the whole drop. There's just no wasted resource, so it doesn't get more min-max than that. So you jump with Blake and Preston. Just highlighted the fact of the speed of the last elimination. Last time we saw Bluzzy and crew here, Bluzzy was by himself and he missed that shot in game 2. We called him out for it, so you can't make those mistakes when you have that one-on-one opening up. So we'll see what Kin and Pluzzy can do here if they've actually learned a little bit from their last game 2 loss.
Yeah, and Blake and Preston, even though they've had a little bit of struggles without their game, they're only 13 points away from that bubble spot and to get into the finals from a contested drop, which is impressive in its own. As the Tick Mafia, they get their 2 eliminations at Humble Hills, so they get the rest of that drop and time here early on to loot up and try to get the rest of what they fought for. Preston goes to try to make a play, lands the first shot. Pluzzy, he's trying to struggle his way back to the other side, but that could be an opportunity to Blake to try to get the sandwich.
Yeah, definitely nicely done for him to go to make the exit there. Quick dash and the counter fire as well. Looking good, but Blake's a little bit more shield to work with now, but no. He couldn't push back fast enough and allow Preston to go ahead and play the side angle there. Well, this is going to be pretty much wraps here for Pluzzy. One more time now. Blake and Preston continuing to flex as the stronger duo at the moment. We're rewarded with the full drop, the northern zone pool as well. No rush for them.
What a time to kind of win this one. They get that legendary drop. You can kind of see the POI. It grants a increased chance at getting those rare chests and more gold. So what a perfect game to try to win this one in. They got a lot of time to loot up over towards Latte Landing. Same here on this side of the map. Sandy Strip with Agers and Ritual. We kind of know how their early game goes as they're uncontested. They just try to farm up. They loot. They pick the perfect loadout. From there, depending on where the zone goes, they do like to push the eastern side of the map, whether they use the blob or just straight shockwave grenades. That's how most times they pick up their eliminations or damage.
And they do clearly an excellent job at it. 7 Ultra cores. The first time we're seeing them in the early game here, taking their battles. It's against Liam and Press. In a toe-to-toe fight here. Press trying to work his way around. Seems like his teammate might have dashed out. For roll while you're down action here. Looking for the body.
Yeah, just seeing them kind of jump away. We know he's knocked. We kind of see it in the mini-map. They're not that close to it, so they're going to be searching quite a while if they look for that one. Could give him an opportunity to get the reboot, but you could also see in the minimap, he disengaged on out, right? He's over here thinking, my teammate, there's no way I can get the reboot. There's no way he's going to be able to roll on to me. So he's continuing the rest of his game, trying to collect that gold, just in case he has to purchase it to get his teammate back.
I think he's going to be able to get him, though. I'm not going to lie. They seem to have straight lost him there at the end. Meanwhile, Day and Scuffy. So last time we saw them here, they put their guard down with the open wall from behind, and I have a feeling they're doing it again here as we see on the map there. There is a team in the storm. Okay, they know there's a team in the water. All right, cool. Last time, Scuffy's got laced up real quick. It was all up to Day there.
And at that time, too, it's just so late in the game with every other team hearing the reboot that caught their attention as well. So it's just unfortunate for Day on all that timing. But Rise, Curly, back on over towards Painted Palms. And honestly, it's been an impressive tournament so far. Even though it's not necessarily on the leaderboard, Rise has the second most damage in the entire lobby so far, only beaten by Neo. So you know, if it continues in the trend, he might be able to be the #1 player in this lobby. Shadow, Virgo. Virgo is going to be #2 on that list of players still playing this lobby in total damage. And I'm not too surprised. 250 eliminations in play-in. You kind of see they slow down their game plan for Heats, kind of being diverse in their strategy. They can get eliminations, they can play aggressive, or they can just kind of play to placement. Comco collected game plan, hope everybody else makes mistakes.
I always said Shadow and Virgo were extremely talented, you know, hyping up Shadow's capabilities. Haven't seen it firsthand. Now you get to see them put their brain to use, right? Treating this like a finals lobby. These set lobbies always bring such a different dynamic, so you have to be flexible. Some, though, this is their first time, right? Like, making it this far in the tournament life cycle. So, 4-7 Ultra in that conversation here. They're choked out, though. There's 2 duos on either side of them. I'm just going to have to pick their poison here shortly. Yora seems to be a solo. Down there. Let's just play apart from this duo, actually. Whoa. Look at this.
Tune in. Agers Ritual. Or at least Agers get dropped down to just a sliver of HP. Splash is coming out. Minis as well. They know they have time here because they have their mending machine down below, more than likely boxed up. The position here, they can shoot the blob and kind of create so much distance in the blink of an eye. So they have plenty of options now that they survived that fight from Boogie and Cash. Not sure how they were able to get that damage, but heads up for Aegis and Ritual to be able to survive that.
Yeah, you see, you have to have that effect on as well in the shockwave to, of course, get that distance. Yeah. For Blake and Preston, though, back on over to Listen and Aloe, who are base down here. We already knew Blake and Preston took that fight here at the Latte Landing, so for Listen and Aloe to just rotate into their drop. I'm surprised they didn't even catch Blake and Preston out.
I can kind of see what they're looking at here. I don't see Curly anywhere. I see Rise trying to run. It seems like maybe they got the elimination on Curly. Aloe Listen chasing down Rise, and yes, no knock, so that is going to be a full wipe. Complimenting how well Rise was playing with his damage. I'm not going to take blame for that, Curse, but they are going to go down, and that's going to be a little bit more of a struggle for them. They're 7th place on the overall leaderboard, so they have a little bit of a cushion, but that means no more mistakes for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you know, all things considering, you would have thought Curly and Rise were a little bit, I guess, more comfortable on the standings, you know, leaning into Game 3, but they're still in the conversation. This is surely going to put them back. Right now, the pressure's on for consistency. I wouldn't think I'd be saying that today, as that was a team I'd for sure, of course, have as a favorite, if you will. 55 Frog versus Ultra and right now.
Kind of seeing what teams would have to do here now that Tip Top Terrace is no longer in the game. They just have to go a little bit more north to get the lion's share of their loot, which means teams that used to land over here uncontested now have a little bit more opposition, so it's not going to be as easy as it once was. No elimination yet, but they get forced down below. Quick peek on that shot, but it does look like Mike's just trying to get away, create some distance, go up above, but that's the same thing that's getting him caught out. Back-to-back shots coming out from Ultra, switches targets, hits the other one as well. He is just hitting haymakers up until then. He goes down, leaving Leahy by himself.
Like to see it, but Cryptify is trying to hold on right now. Leahy and, of course, his teammate here, Ultra, they have had an exceptional first 2 games, by the way. They're up in that high 60-point threshold, but no, Cryptify actually gets the siphon there. That's going to give him a massive advantage over Leahy, but he can't quite track him. That Fizz is going to go ahead and give him a little bit of HP as well, so he is actually in the fight right now. As we talk about it, there you have it. Swings around, still hasn't got his elimination, so now he's trying to get it back. Oh no. The pickup go through though, that's gonna be a huge mistake if he does. Cryptify's only down to 4 builds here, little does he know. He's got the advantage right now, he's just gotta keep that pressure up. There's the finish. Tries to take the fight, misses the important tag. There's the follow-up, 121, but no heals now for Leahy. Just the slaps, okay. She almost called that one too soon.
The silver, oh, I was wrong. I was just saying the silver lining here is the zone's not too far away, but as I look in the mini-map, I see somebody rotating in, and it was my thought that it was initially a solo, but even further down in the mini-map, the duo is there, so they hear all this noise still going down, probably looking at the elimination feed, spotting out and gathering that information and trying to make the play. Leahy is now just getting pushed. He finishes one fight, ends up in another. Sleaze and Atlas are there to clean up one elimination here. They do pick it up, but do they know there's at least one more person hiding out here?
It's just so unfortunate too, because he used the fist to go on and rotate as well. So just no way to exit at that point. Couldn't have timed it worse, unfortunately. Atlas and Sleaze, they'll find themselves some much welcome points here. But if you're Leahy and Ultra, what a setback, right? Being up in that 50 points already, kind of cruising your way through, consistently earning. Now, all that momentum gone for Cryptify. He's just hiding out. I don't think I saw white somewhere, which, you know, the last time we checked him, but the zone's right there, so it won't be too much of a problem.
About noise. How much noise and attention is that reboot gonna garner, even if he does get it off? It's Dragon, Creon, 101 inside of the bubble as of now. And this is a team, when we talk about competitors, they're usually at least in the race. You can almost talk about a grand finals appearance. This team deserves that shout out just as good as anybody else. But this time around, you can see a little bit of struggles when it comes to Storm Surge. 70 above. They go up to 127, but Dragon gets beamed. So the Storm Surge falls right back down to 79. And this is the kind of games that these teams are playing. The Storm Surge, the way it works is it's total damage dealt minus the damage taken gives you your net Storm Surge, and that's where each team is ranked on the leaderboard.
Yeah, it is really interesting. The cat and mouse here. You want to be the one, of course, chasing, not receiving the damage. We're gonna Dragon push right into Northern's boxes. That was extremely aggressive. Didn't seem to have escaped there. Meanwhile, Andrew's duo. 5 and out here at the Humble Hills. We have Press on the other side. No fight coming from it just yet. There goes the fight breakout. Doing fairly well though. Look at the damage right here. So it's not a fight they actually need.
Yeah, they more so just want this team to just leave. Like, they're 400 above. They have the heals. They're waiting for the game to pass them by. But Prez, his duo, Liam on the other side, they're like, hey, we might necessarily need the damage. We might need some resources. Great damage from Liam, gonna cause the knock onto one, leaving Andrew by himself. He is the IGL, so hopefully he has the brain power to get himself out alive, if not get these eliminations, because Prez, he's already weak. We'll see if that one continues, but Creon and Dragon, they're in a tight situation. They're also below the damage threshold. During this fight, they're below, they're above, they're trying to get the elimination. 3 more points. There's a lurker, not just that one team that they have to watch out for, but so many others that have to rotate in this direction.
Yeah, this is a fight through desperation, not choice, and Creon has no idea. This is a fresh team pulling up, and then another one there in the distance too, seemingly shockwaving in. So let's see how much of the situation they've managed to download, digest, and understand here. There's one of those duos that came in out of nowhere. It was Tony. He gets finished there. You see Exist in the background. You see Zenon and Rents here moving in too. So just a lot unfolding all at the same time. Creon and Dragon are the ones that break away with it though. They get the, I'd say, the bulk of the mats and the bulk of the damage now. They just have to minimize expending anything extra. Yup, they understand it too. Seems like they want to rotate out. Meanwhile, Ritual, fighting for his life here, finds one. He'll manage to go ahead and have Agers get back and put back in the game here, but this is a surge battle for the GOATs themselves.
Yeah, this is going to be tough for Ritual here. He has to make some dicey decisions. Do I keep going for damage, get ahead of Storm Surge,
Bounce him,
or try to get a reboot Vance somewhere and hope in the next zone after this when it pulls so far away? 136 points though, so even if they do go down here, I'm not necessarily too worried for them. I don't think they're going to be too worried as well either. But Ritual, he's not giving up without a fight. Quickly going on over to that drop and see if he can get out of a pizza. Oh, my slap-a-roni pizza. If any item can pop out of that one, that's the one you want.
Yep, gotta love the slaps when they show up just on time. So belly's full, shield looking great. Virgo and Shadow though. Talk about, again, the team that was monstrously running the lobby with Elims. Now just vibing now, barely breaking a sweat in the early game here, turning online when they absolutely have to, and just really allowing that consistency to flex and keep them up on the standings right now. Nice moveset for them, puts them up in great shape here for the end game, and this is just game 3, so we're really just seeing the best of what they have to offer.
It's going to see Shadow taking down Dragon. I think Avenger even getting elimination from Wonky Land. Visuals and Braids finally moving in. The edge of the zone, sometimes that's what you got to settle with. We're seeing that elimination here. Shadow, Virgo, just a non-stop action. And that's the beauty about a team like Shadow and Virgo, is when they realize they're below the damage threshold, they can play slow, they can play steady, they can try to get surge on players shockwaving, but they can also go box to box and break their way in and command that respect.
Yeah, I really like that we're starting to see that side of them, right? This is now something, it's not a statement we would have probably said this time last year, but hey, they're putting up the performances and now they're getting the praise to back it up. So love to see that continued development. But for now, Barney, Vertify have the high ground. This is a massive amount of commitment. I dare say myself here, as we're very early into the end game, but they've fully went all in here. And they have the natural high kind of terrain to support them there. Meanwhile, Toronto slipped on the other side, 21 below. But talk about consistency here in these first 3 rounds. No elims just yet, so this is going to be a super critical set of damage that they're hunting for here, Jacob.
Yeah, I like how you talk about the importance. Right now, I believe they sit on 6th place on the overall leaderboard in terms of consistency. So it's not where you want to falter now. So great heads up play, noticing that team down below and being persistent. Even though it's only 12 damage above the threshold, they were able to get the elimination, and at least they're above the damage threshold. There's other teams in the lobby right now that are going through active surge, having the game played for them.
This greed starting to set in now. You start thinking, do I go for it? Barely holding on. We're in the end game. Meanwhile, Ritual's got a lot to work with here as well. It's just solo, but plenty of extra heals. SMG in his pocket there too. Legendary rarity. Zone's already on top of him. Virgo, 10 HP, but makes it to the storm here. Goes with the pizzas first. Oh, and they have extras as well. That's an excellent way to bounce back in the game. So keep that chug for later.
Yeah, you're seeing just kind of the different rotations coming out. Some people use those shockwaves just straight for the effect. Somebody using those shockwaves and just kind of running, letting it boost them the minimal amount. And you saw Blake and Preston there for that moment, using the shockwave just to get from the backside of the zone, flying over everybody to try to land a position in the front. We talked about Vertify and Barney investing early into this here. They do have a good amount of materials, but they get a max pull. So it's going to be a risk if they want to try to keep it if shockwave on over.
They got the Flowberry miss, though. They of course, have the Overdrive shocks as well. They both have their own set, so plenty of mobility here left. I'm seeing max material as well, so I like the spot that they're in, all things considering. They should be able to rotate in here shortly and possibly keep playing for height. See why they wouldn't. Javi and Aminish, though, they took a little too long to make the decision. Javi and Aminish, you gave them an inch, they took a mile. They're the team up top now in full control here. Trying to run that one back here, Jacob, because they weren't content with the 3rd place last game.
I even heard Kelly and Vivid and Zeke talking about it. So far, they're hitting for the cycle. 3rd place, 2nd place. All they need is a 1st. Momentary there where it looked like they were going to get contested, but they did not. They're able to fend off team off as they continue to box out forward. Diminished Hobby, they're in the backside of the zone now, and that 2nd height layer is now targeting them out, trying to get them to expend builds, waste time inside of the zone. Let it take some damage as well. That's 50 HP left, so 5 ticks of damage, but they take no time getting back to the front side of the zone. It was Blake and Preston on that 2nd height that is continuously being that nuisance.
It's underrated amount of synergy right there. The jumping as they both just utilize the same builds to get high ground here. No wasted materials. You love to see it. And they just bully off Blake and Preston there. So they are back and in control. Virgo and Shadow, though, 5 healings. Just enough mats. A couple heals here. Now looking for the refresher. Continues to be impressed here by their performance right now in this end game. Leading the charge here. Going through some early pre-built structures. Kind of like that they get the first stabs here. Yeah, they will need the material. Let's see how much comeback they can bounce back into this game. Meanwhile, Visual and Braids are still up as well. The bottom right here.
There goes the whole fight too. Virgo's going to go down. Shadow's going to be able to survive. It's Blake and Preston who deal the damage, but the fight does continue. They force Shadow outside of the zone. He doesn't really have much HP, no time to pop the Jug, and he is gonna go down. Meanwhile, on high ground, Moppings and Max out of nowhere. They have taken height, and this is their chance to look down. The Tick, Mafia, they're there as well. You see Visuals and Braids at the bottom, and this is the moment here. 10th zone, going into 11th. You could shockwave up with that Fizz and cause so much distraction, but nobody is in position to do so. Another down coming in from Expo, leaving QK by himself, along with Ritual here, as they both play the rest of this game as solos.
It's going to be one of the most important rounds right now, too. If you're already kind of in the race here, getting another endgame here will all but basically solidify your top 10 positioning. So for some, this is going to be super important. I'm really looking at Mafia and the Tick here, besides, of course, Braids, who's trying to solo clutch, Rituals trying to solo clutch, right? They've done so much already. They're in that conversation. They're very much in the race here. Just kind of taking a wide-eye view at things. Ritual's going to be the first to move here. Just like chop through enemy builds right now. Still being all the more cautious, though.
Just a lot of space here for Ritual. Even Braids feeling a little comfortable here, but can't feel too comfortable. And it's going over recycled build, which means a lot of players down below, they're lurking, they're crouched down, hiding those audio visuals. So it isn't a free elimination, but Listen gets caught out. Mafia drops down low. This is the team you had your eye on. I can definitely see why. It's plays just like this. Finding those opportunities are creating themselves. Even Blake and Preston down below. You see the two worlds of difference, a team on high ground and a team down below.
Blake and Preston have been contested, meanwhile, all 3 games. So credit to them managing to not only fight their way through an early fight, you know, they're the team that's wrapping it up quickly, but look at how far they're pushing their opportunities here into a full end game right now. Meanwhile, the high ground teams are starting to turn online, doing exactly what they need to. And Mafia and the Tick get taken out here. Kai Ixon, Skittler say, hey man, give us a little bit of that highlight now. They're at 5 elims here. Preston and Blake, though, listening to all the action go down here. Jacob just continuing to lurk through the mid ground.
Yeah, waiting for somebody to make a mistake, break through any one of these builds. They have those 6 eliminations. They have 10 probably plus builds each. Ritual with a huge flank. I don't know how he found that one, but gets that first knock onto Barney, gets the elimination cleanup. Siphon's going to get him to full HP, and the materials is what matters most. Giving Ritual a fighting chance here against all the other duos left in this game. One of 2 solos. I do believe the other one is going to be Braids, who's still left alive, but make it another one as Skittles' teammate does go down. Slepsy picks up that elimination here, and Skittles gets taken down by Ritual, who's lurking in the backside of zone. It's moments just like that that matter most.
Richie putting up the points, but so is Braids here as he's firing back, but no! Ritual's got his number 2. 199 points. He sits down Braids there in the end. Just keeping it interesting for us. Meanwhile, Max, though, mopping. They have the high ground. Can they get the win? No! They lose their opportunity, but now it's a standoff against Blake. I think Blake's done enough to buy himself some time as Preston's already sitting here comfortably healing through the end game. But the heal comes through from the Siphon. Max is just hunting now, and that's gonna be all she wrote as the win there for Max, though. No! I think Storm Sickness kicked in, Jacob.
I looked away in a split second. I thought that was a Blake and Preston win, and somehow, someway, Max, due to Storm Sickness, steals the game away. I have never seen a closer call in Fortnite history in my entire life. Zeke, make sense of the madness.
Jacob, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Storm Sickness strikes again. Oh, man. Dude, you've got to think in that moment, right? Blake, Preston, they're probably like, this is it, dude. You have it. Like, you have so many heals. And I think Jacob, I was there with you. I was like, bro, there's no way. Like, this is done. It's over. Close the chapter. They're going straight through. Storm Sickness, though. Shout outs, though, to the other side, right? Max and Mopping. Oh my gosh, we got getting tongue twisted here. These guys were on height, right? So they were kind of running the lobby there for a little bit, and to take it all the way to that fight against legends like Blake, right? To come out on top. Dude, this has got to be such a boost to the confidence.
I mean, there was multiple times there, Vivid, where we're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be Javi and Amish on height. Okay, we're all good. Just like when we thought that Blake was going to win. We're like, oh, okay, we're all good. No, man, Max and Mopping were able to just kind of sneak in, take height away. I would love to rewatch this game and to see exactly how they did that, because it looked like Javi and Amish had such a distance for high ground and just such a command over it. So for them to be able to steal that away from such a notable team and then be able to carry that on into the very end against, like Zeke was saying, these big veterans like Ritual and Shadow and Blake. So big shout outs to Max and Mopping. I really love to see kind of newer names get highlighted during these heats. That is what it is all about.
Yeah, I can tell you right now from personal experience, blinking, you might have missed it. We literally were talking about that. It was like, yeah, Javi and Amish, they look so good up on the higher ground. You know, we were talking about how well they have done throughout those first 2 games without many eliminations. They just seemingly make it all the way to the 12th zone. They don't really need much. And then it was like, whoa, Mopping and Max, they're up on the higher ground. All right, let's do a little bit of research on these guys. And sure enough, Max, he's made 1 FNCS finals before. Mopping, this is now going to be his first FNCS Grand Final. So in back-to-back games, we've got a couple of players here on NA and Heat #1 making it to their first FNCS Grand Finals, but that was absolutely insane. It feels like that one got stolen out from under Blake. Oh, that was so close.
You know they're gonna be like, okay, hey, maybe in the future, let's make sure we're not as Storm as long as that. Let's just make some, tiny little adjustments to make sure that doesn't happen again. With that being said, though, we do only have 2 games left to go. After this short break, we'll prepare ourselves for game number 4. We'll see you in just a moment. Man, oh man, that last game came down to the wire. Storm Sickness stole it away though. And unfortunately, Blake, Preston just barely missed out, but it's okay. Everything's fine. We have 2 more games to go, right, Kelly? Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Let's bring up these standings, right? Kelly, I'm not worried. You shouldn't be worried. I'm not worried.
Are you sure? You seem worried, Zeke. I don't think you should be worried at all, though, because honestly, today has been absolutely phenomenal. We do only have 2 more games to go, though, before we find out which 15 duos is going to be making their way into the grand finals next week. And from what it looks like right now, Agers and Ritual are a shoo-in, Vivid.
I mean, it's no surprise, right? We talked about how well they did in those first couple of games as a duo, and then, we kind of saw it. Oh, Agers kind of going down a little bit early this game. Maybe this will be where they kind of slip on the leaderboard. As you can see, that's 5th zone. So Ritual playing out a majority of this game after Agers goes down here. But yeah, I mean, just an incredible performance from Ritual. We were kind of talking about it as it was happening. Like, Ritual has been in these moments before. He's been a solo, and he always makes something happen. But what an incredible game from him to actually pick up points here. That's a long time to play as a solo in a world full of duos, and he did so, by the way, as the player in the lobby ended that game with the most eliminations. He ended with 7.
Oh. Wow, and he literally was like so close to hitting Storm Surge damage as well. So for him to kind of like toe that line, make sure that he's staying on the side of zone so that he's not taking too much aggression from everyone that's on the low and mid ground. Also being able to get elim after elim, that is so impressive. And Zeke was actually asking and being like, hey, it's usually Agers that's like a solo at the end of these games, right? But honestly, Ritual and Agers, both of them can pull out these solo clutches. And it is just so exciting to see Ritual finally kind of, because when you're on a team with Peter Cold, maybe you get overshadowed just a little bit. So to see Ritual perform and get the highlight he deserves makes me so happy.
Yeah, I completely agree, right? Like, love having those opportunities and to catch them on broadcast, right? So awesome. They're currently in that #1 spot. In case you're tuning in, don't worry about the 1,000 points. That just means that duo has got a victory royale. They're going through next weekend. So 4th place is essentially 1st place. So Agers and Ritual looking real good. Shadow and Virgos currently sitting in that 2nd place. It's interesting because like when you look at their stats, 2nd place 7 elims, 7th place 5 elims, and then we have a 17th with 5, right? So a little bit like all over the place, but to still be in 2nd place, like these guys are doing very, very well. I'm almost like thinking, do they even care about that VR right now, Kelly? Are they just like, yeah, we could get a VR, or we could just keep getting practice, right? We can continue to refine things and kind of show what we've got.
I mean, besides the most recent performance evaluation, we haven't had a Div Cup in quite a while, and I don't think there's any more really tournaments for this opportunity for them to practice in a duos set lobby. So maybe you're right. Maybe Shadow and Virgo, they're kind of foregoing the opportunity to auto-qualify just to be able to get more practice in. That wouldn't be the first time we have seen some of our top competitors kind of choosing to maybe not necessarily go for the Victory Royale. Obviously, they're not throwing. Shadow and Virgo are playing absolutely phenomenally, and that is why they're in our top 3 right now. But you might be onto something, Zeke.
I have ideas sometimes.
Zeke, we know how this is going to go. Shadow and Virgo, they were going to do well today. And I'm happy that we're kind of talking about this duo because, we know how everybody loves the stats. We always run them all the time. So why don't we go ahead and take a quick moment to break down some more of the numbers. This is going to be top 5 shotgun damage over the course of the first 3 games, right? Ritual, he's going to be up there. That solo clutch is going to be helping him out there. But like I mentioned, we're talking about Shadow and Virgo. He's up there 2nd place right now with 1,060. And we got to give actually a shout out to Prez there. He's at 907. But the thing that's standing out for him right now is the fact that he actually picked up 670 of that damage in game number 3 with only 2 eliminations. So he jumped up an incredible amount right there in that game.
Woo! Okay, guys, we're coming down to the wire here. 2 games left to go. We need to get ourselves in gear because we need a victory out or to end in top 10. We want to keep the FNCS dream alive and not go to last chance qualifier. With that being said, casters, over to you.
That's right. And as you win, of course, the lobby gets lighter and lighter for Blake and Preston. Such a close game. I'm still thinking about how that all played out in those final moments, Jacob. Absolute nail biter. I had my hands up. I thought it was all over, but you know what? They still needed those points because now at least they're in the running.
Yeah, it's one of those moments to where you can really narrow down these moments between did I make it in or not. But the moment for game 4 is here. Let's jump in.
All right, Jacob, game number 4. There's this opportunity and then the last. And that'll be it for heat number 1. So for some, of course, we're going to have some heartbreak here as we start gearing up for the last chance qualifier. But Blake and Preston back into the action here at the latte landing. We have seen them kind of dominate against Pluzzy's duo here time and time again. This seems to be the fastest that they've all kind of started this fight too, as far as pacing is concerned. And just in the last game too, though, they had other teams rotating in, so this has not been a free drop by any means, right? They really worked for it.
Each and every one of these moments, but they win another one of these fights. And honestly, after that last one, barely missing out on a final spot, they are definitely playing with the pressure on. As Prom Nut drop down yet again. This is one of those drops you talk about it. Is it a 50-50 or is it just one of those where you kind of just drop and hope for the best? Either way, they're finding some consistency in a drop like that. But Rise and Curly from Painted Palms, they were kind of pushed out towards the north by this team. This went from a fight that didn't happen in game 1 to a fight in game 4 that is stretched far north to the actual POI. Rise clutches up, giving him and Curly a chance here. And what's so important is you look at the leaderboard, 104 points is the current amount of points to be on that bubble. Thanks to those eliminations, Rise and Curly is another team on 104.
Yeah, you wouldn't even think that it'd be that close, let alone have a team like Rise and Curly riding the coattails of the qualification line right now. Here you have it. So nice quick elims here, at least keeping them in the game. And, you know, I wonder where their mental's at right now, right? Like, coming up short time and time again, not quite finding those big placement points in the end. Game 4, it's time to dig deep, pull your way out the trenches. Here's Aegis and Ritual. Normally by this time we'll see them already have had a set of Elans, so it seems like Sandy Strip and the teams that have been here noticed how well they've been performing and giving them some more room to work with the team.
You can almost kind of see why, because, you know, Bucky and Zen qualified early. That was a team that landed right below them. Next up, Noisy and Neo, another team that landed right below them. And so a lot of their teams they would normally push for damage ain't necessarily there, but the fight on the north side of the map, you see it's being contested, not necessarily the 50-50 we're normally used to seeing, but Boji and DK still end up the victors of this spot, but with only 28 points. They almost need back-to-back second places with elims, or they need to win one of these next 2 games.
Yeah, as of right now, they have to have a huge game to put them in the conversation. Don't count anybody out yet. So even in that last game, Max and Moffin came out of nowhere. All of a sudden secured that victory royale. That's the exciting part here. Everyone can still be a winner. And Scuffy's and other teams that's very much out of the race right now, really trying to claw their way back in. Desperate to find themselves a little win here. Have to first get past this Sanctuary duo. And to their south, there's another team listening. To their north, there's one possibly edging in. And then you have Tony behind them watching the rotate come in. So this is going to get real messy real quick.
Seeing almost a whole different side of Day and Scuffy's this time around. From a lot of the earlier games, we saw more passive game plan, getting searched from a distance, rotating to the slower side of the zone. This time it seems like they're taking the fight right out of the gates. A fight that you can know that's going to happen. Michael and Cryptify versus their opponents on the other side. Ultra is going to be left by himself because they already cleaned up one elimination here. You see him just trying to hold on, allowing Cryptify to get the double minis off. But this is where now with the numbers advantage, they go to try to make a play, using the gloves to try to get up. It's not enough for Ultra. He's going to go down. And so already with 2 game wins from Ultra and his duo, now to 2 game wins for Cryptify and Michael Frost.
Yeah, just going back and forth here. Aegis, Ritual find themselves up against Cash and Boogie here. It's the clash that we saw them be successful in before. However, it's happening earlier now. Like you mentioned, those other teams that have fallen through really have kind of forced them into some other fights if they want to find their surge early. Doesn't seem like this one's actually really kicked off just yet, at least judging by the amount of heals I see inside of Aegis loadout. Yeah, the Cash and team are kind of sitting idle right now. Meanwhile, Jasper, Tib find themselves nice little elim there. The full finish here to build his barracks.
Kind of rotating south. They're one of those teams near 4 fields. Instead of just fighting for the actual loot and the spot early damage, they say, hey, we have 76 points. One good game here, we're in contention of grabbing one of those spots. So I like the different approach to this game plan. This is how they were able to pick up at least one of those eliminations there. They're able to drop on, probably surprise the team there. Something that they haven't done in some of those previous games. And this is where you kind of have those tricks underneath your sleeve. You save them for the rest of the tournament, and it kind of gives you that extra little boost that you need to qualify.
We've definitely seen teams pull the strats out from the Heat's windows. Meanwhile, Shadow Virgo pretty much had done enough to be inside the top 10 via consistency. This is the first we're seeing them get what I would call aggressive in the early game, right? Every other early game, they've kind of played it safe, played for the end game. We've given them a lot of praise for their ability to stay consistent. But now you have Andrew here. And the Spider-Man just kind of sitting back, guns drawn, ready to do the thing. They missed the first shot, Andrew follows up though. Just a little bit of damage there, but Shadow and Virgo not quite doing enough to finish the deed.
Yeah, good damage to kind of follow up on, but not enough to break the confidence that Shadow and Virgo are currently playing with. 163 points, almost nothing to lose here as the shots come in again from Shadow up above. The different angles seems like almost too much for Andrew and his duo to fight back from. Again, being pressured, walls being stolen, Shadow just being persistent here. Virgo from the other side closing down options. There goes the first knock. Andrew goes down, and the cleanup from Shadow and Virgo. You talk about their lack of aggression in the early game, and this is right now looking like they're ramping things up.
It's the most versatile duo in the lobby, it seems like, at this point. That was very nicely done, and honestly, the angles on Shadow there easily overwhelmed them. I don't think they expect to get hit from up top, so well played for them. Aoxy, Jojo Fishy, team that started off, had a bit of a footing kind of in this, but here slipped down, trying to find their way back in. They're at the Wonky Land right now. That's how there's other duos to the north, with 2 teams actually.
You can honestly see how a format like this changes things up a little bit for Aoxy and Jojo Fishy. Normally it was Sniper Dude, Avenger versus Max and Mopping, and for Aoxy and Jojo Fishy, they stayed at a distance to get Surge. But now that Max and Mopping win a game in finals, no longer here, that kind of opens up a little bit of space. So I'm a little bit of surprised to see Sniper Dude and Avenger so far away from the mending machine, but you may probably have different plans to rotate in, but it just goes to show as the game continues on, it opens up different avenues and different strategies. Nut and Prom continue to find key eliminations here in the game. That's 2 overall. That's 6 extra points before placement even come in.
Tick and Mafia positioned up. Talk about those placement points. Everyone will welcome them, but for the Tick and Mafia, they just need to coast their way into an end game at this point. I was really impressed by what they were doing last game, but I'm not sure what team it was rolled up on them. They got smashed. But they all of a sudden lost their position kind of in that mid to high ground there. Give that a second. Scuffy's in Day, okay? Still a fight that seems to be going well for them right now. Actually sitting on top of the opponents, but man, it's in the storm. Anything can happen when you're kind of taking the risk here, fighting in the zone.
One thing you feel like you know for sure, fighting this far out of the zone, is the likelihood of a third party coming in. It's almost slim to none. Wouldn't say it's impossible, but for Bloods and Akai, they just cannot play to the fact that maybe a third party will come in. Scuffy and Day, they may not know exactly where they're at. Bloods healing here may give the audio visuals up a little bit, but if they don't necessarily hear where it's coming from, they might not know where to go. So instead of staying and overstaying your welcome here, it does look like Day and Scuffy's, they've had enough of this fight. Because remember, early on in the game, before the fight even started, you saw them lurking in this direction. So they spent a lot of time and likely resources. I just hope they got what they wanted out of it.
Yeah, a little bit of damage for some is going to be more than enough to at least be content. You have to assume so, especially when you're kind of like under the 20 points in the game so far. So realistically, you know, playing an end game is going to feel way better than, you know, risking it all here and now. Braid's visuals, though, have committed early to the high ground positioning, and I respect it. They've had more than enough time to go in and bounce back, refarm all the material. Here, though, they're getting a bit curious. I wonder what they left back here. What is he going for?
Yeah, I'm just not sure. Braids has a chance right now
Just
to get
off.
Aminish's card. It's just a matter of can he get Aminish kind of back in the game right now. So it might be no other option but to go outside of the zone to try to get that opportunity. Seeing the feed Curly and Rise eliminated 104 points. One of 3 teams on that 104 marker. And as of now, that's the threshold. So they're going to have to go into that last and final game of the day to try to clutch up a grand final spot. Otherwise, they're going to be going through that LCQ. Every team that does not make it into LCQ through not only the heats today, but throughout the weekend, will have that final shot in the last chance qualifier where it's 5 more games. You win a game and you are in.
That last chance qualifier super soon, too. Early next week, so we'll be seeing you there as well. For now, back with Ritual. Where is Agers? Did the fight go south for them, or did Ritual manage to end up solo here? Does seem like he is by himself. So we have Braids by himself. We have Rituals by himself now. He's still eyeing up Cash and Boogie. This seems to be pretty personal at this point.
See him just kind of waiting. With the 6 different pizza slices, 5 different shockwaves, there's a vending machine right to his north. It's just all about timing. Whether he has Ager's reboot card or not, you got to imagine they do have the gold. So he definitely has some flexibility, whether you kind of realize it or not. Sees Sandy Strip behind him, so there's a lot of time left on the board for Ritual to make a play. But even if he doesn't, the way he's been playing as a solo in multiple games so far, I still got to have that confidence in him to try to make things work. Because if they're not already qualified with their points, there may be just a few more away.
Yeah, I mean, last game he surely popped off in the end game even by himself. Definitely saw that. Ritual just adding to the highlights. Meanwhile, Blake and Preston just fighting back with the vengeance here. So they got that 2 elims. Preston's getting a little bit of pressure coming in from behind here, but Blake being as cool as ever, bending up, trying to play defense here. It's actually Cash and Boogie tagging them on the rotate right now. Blake, Preston go for the shockwave off in the north side. Meanwhile, Ritual kind of goes back into the storm, right? Going straight for that reboot van here. There is still teams lurking in the storm. This is the dangerous thing about kind of zone 5, zone 6. You know, you never really know, right? People do tend to stay behind way later than you'd expect. Even here and now. Whoa.
Yeah, that 37. That's what's really going to scare me, because even with Agers back in the game, they're on a clock here to try to get damage. You talked about other teams in the distance. Visuals and Braids in a very, very similar situation, having to get that reboot back. Don't know where their status is currently when it comes to Storm Surge, but that's 2 teams coming from the north side of the map that might clash as this game progresses. Jump on board Dragon and Freon, 61 above the damage threshold, looking to connect with a few more shots to climb that leaderboard even a little bit more. But somebody trying to make a sneak attack from down underneath. Catch him slipping, but they have that all-seeing eye, so they make sure nothing sneaks its way through.
Ritual's back in the game here. Agers that'll back up, and oh, look at this. The prime opportunity. Visuals and Braids, as we knew, Visuals already had to get picked up and saved anyways. They're 35 below, so this is a desperate time to fight, and you can't stay in the zone. I was just going to say, look at the 5 tick. Right now, we're getting into the dangerous end game of the storm here. Ritual, though, coming in late. Surely the team above them is going to be thinking about whether or not they need to push this team right now.
Uh-oh.
Braids, Agers falls. Oh, no.
Active Storm Surge. Instead of getting knocked, straight elimination. All that hard work from Rituals to get Agers back in the game right out the window, and he's less than 15 seconds away from going down. 39 HP to 24, and it looks like he's just gonna wait this one out. He's okay with getting eliminated here, denying at least 3 more points away from everybody else. But Aloe, listen, they probably heard that Surge Strike go down, they probably heard the elimination, and they quickly jump on over to carry up that loot.
And look, they actually got the credit there too. It's pretty unfortunate for Ritual, but it's all good. Love the little shout there to the official FNCS outfit. Love to see it. So much happening inside of Fortnite. Plenty to celebrate this weekend. As the community said, FNCS is back. Look at this fight right here. This is a Storm Surge battle on both ends. Hey, don't waste no time here. Y'all need to hit some shots, and someone surely does. I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Vertify is barely in the game here. The siphon triggers just in the nick of time, but no, he's still 83 below here, Jacob.
Yeah, now, yep, 5 tick, trying to catch up and keep up with his own. Barely able to survive, but down to just 1 HP, 31 damage below, and spotted out by everybody north of him on that rotation. That's going to be a big elimination for them. At least they get one more chance, the 5th and final game of the day. They try to qualify for the finals through heat so that they don't have to go through the grueling LCQ. But you can see Javi and Minish getting tagged up on their way there. Over 100 above the damage threshold. That dropped them below 50, but they're still above at least.
Yeah, Surge just turning online, continuing to stay active zone to zone. And that's that desperation kicking in here. As this is game number 4. The last opportunities are before us here. Visuals Braids getting back into the action here. Really impressive though. You have to consider the fact that with Visuals being fully eliminated, right, taking out the game, resetting all that damage, bouncing back in it, now being above it as if they never were below is so impressive. When was the last time you saw Harpoon being
I
sniped
would
up like
literally
that? That feels like a
just thinking
throwback.
that.
Oh my gosh.
And to just harpoon a slap-a-roni pizza. That just goes to the testament of literally what you're talking about. Visuals down, Braids by himself. A great spot in zone that he had to give up just to get this reboot. And now if you look at their loadout, you would almost never guess they were down in the first place. It's Virgo taking a big shot, forced it back up. Luckily for him, they not only got the elimination, but you can see what they're fighting for. All the loot right in front. A worthwhile sacrifice for them because they're already in towards the zone. More so towards the north side where you see not too many teams are currently positioned.
Diminished. He's got the high ground with Javi though. Just on the edge of Storm. I want to see if it's actually flowing this way. That'd be a pleasant surprise since they committed pretty early. Oh, it is. Okay. So, I mean, they don't have a lot of material though to kind of hold this. And yeah, you can see even a Minish here just eyeing up some of that loot down low. Even if it's even worth it. Probably not to go down, obviously. However, have to do something here and now. There it is. Rex's team ends up setting that all up. Here's a replay though. How they found the set of eliminations. Big damage though. Wow. Triggering through.
This looks like Javi hit every bullet in that clip, but 1 of 2 shockwaves being used. They have 1 more as a team, and you can kind of see why they're going for that fight. High ground's fine and dandy, but if you don't have the resource to hold it, it could cost you almost everything in a game like this. Multiple teams going from point A to point B, but it's Creon and Dragon that stop with the elevated layer. That could be a threat to their high ground.
Goes back. Blake in Preston in another endgame here, but saw that damage coming in. You have to assume it's Javi once again, just connecting with that pistol. Meanwhile, Preston back with Blake. They haven't found elimination since the last time we tuned in. There it is. Preston starting to aim up the high ground. That's some good pressure too. Little do they know that high ground team is very desperate on material count right now. Love to rotate here, inside, and sweeping around the outskirts.
Yeah, honestly, being in that situation of that last game, coming into this one with a whole fire, so you can get the elimination. Javi and Diminish, though, get beat on their high ground. Stolen away for a short moment, and we talked about how much material they expended early on just to get it the first time. They have to give it up. Risen and Aldo perfectly played, because they don't even end up in a fight with another team interrupting the mix. They get it all to themselves, but Jojo, Fishy, and Aoxy, they're not letting that opportunity out of their sight. They put some pressure onto the high ground, trying to chop them down once, but Aldo and Listen, they reconnected, but you can see it's barely being held together by one wall and ramp.
And Blake on the low ground actually found a refresh there in the end as well, but look at this, a Minish trying to clutch up. So low right now. These are big points being earned here, but he's only got 5 bills left. So does Shadow. Shadow's barely got anything, but he goes up for the high ground. Not quite enough to reach the top there. Down he goes. Meanwhile, lands in a box, and the enemy just slipped out of there. I don't even think he realized what was going on, but Shadow finds another one. Right over, it's Jojo there. This is just chaos.
Yeah, big elims, and it really matters. It makes the difference here at the end of the day. Blake and Preston still trying to control as much of this low ground as possible, but Blake goes down. Disaster strikes yet again. Top 8 situation, so at least half of the placement points have already been grabbed up. So for Preston, it's almost like everything is bonus. Dragon ends up in a fight, beaming from across the map. Creon's able to get into the box, save the day, build to protect himself, but you can see he's fresh out of materials, down to the very last heals as well. Preston looking strong, though, all things considered, as a solo.
Still has the chug as well, so has a couple options to play with right now. Dragon and Creon, though, just running out of gas here. They need anything they can find. They see Skittles there. There goes the finish. Okay, so just giving them just enough to kind of stay in the game here. Creon's going to be rewarded with the siphon. Back in the storm he goes. It's Preston there. Preston with a monstrous shot onto both of them. And Dragon, Creon are just getting hunted down. The finish comes in from the tail end there. It's not Preston's points, but it is still a top 3, possibly top 5 here. We'll see Preston's inside this 3. Yup, looking very solid right now.
Yeah, all 3 of these teams, though, are inside of that top 10 leaderboard consistency. So this is going to open up a slot at the bottom of that leaderboard, no matter who wins. Better late than never, but Preston running out of builds, just trying to farm anything he can get his hands on. He's the solo caught in the middle. Only lasts for so long before Slepsy and Wagers clean up that elimination. 195 points. They have the Mythic, so they can definitely turn the tide if the fight starts without him. Aloe goes in as well. Slepsy down to just a little bit of HP. Wagers goes up with the shockwave and gets the first down. Aloe gets dropped. Listen is there. They trade shots back and forth, but Wagers is scrambling around, not trying to give away a free elimination, especially since they know they have the high ground, they have the advantage, and now they have the game in the bag.
And 13 eliminations to top it off. That shockwave faked out the player on the low ground. You saw him glance all the way up. Nope, he didn't go that high. He was right behind him already there. Jacob, what a game. And even for Preston to clutch up and get a top 3, that was incredible. Another victory royale in the bag here as game number 4 is now wrapped here, Z.
How did I blinked and today's almost over? How? Why? It's almost, no, we're gonna start it all over. Kelly, bring the board back out. We're starting the day over. Wow.
All right, production.
No. Congratulations. The Slepsy and Wagers getting themselves a victory royale. I think what's really interesting about this, going into this game, Slepsy and Wagers were 12. And Listen and Aloe were actually 13, right? So if we look at that top 5, this is basically like 9th and 10th kind of fighting it out. So this means now everyone's getting pulled up in the leaderboard. So for game number 5, it's going to be super, super close. But I'm excited to see that Slepsy Wagers got themselves that VR, right? Again, confidence boost. Now it's one thing. Focus on next week's finals. Really prep and bring everything you've got, because you've got Summit Land. You can't miss that.
I mean, Zeke, beyond them even getting this victory royale, they went from 8 eliminations over the course of the first 3 games to getting 13 eliminations in that one game. Easily the most amount of eliminations that we've seen so far, if not probably for the rest of the day, Vivid.
Yeah, that actually breaks the record for most eliminations today, including the EU games earlier today. So big win from Slepsy and Wagers. And guess what, guys? I'm going to sound like a broken record right now. Once again, we have somebody making their first FNCS Grand Finals for the 3rd time in a row through a win. That's going to be Wagers. Has not been to an FNCS Grand Finals yet. We're going to be seeing him there for the first time. And Slepsy on the other side as well. Very similar situation with this duo among some of the other ones we've seen win today. He's only made it to 1 Grand Finals so far, so just going to be his 2nd one. But what a way to kind of do it, right? You qualify for your Grand Finals, and the way you do that, 13 eliminations and a win in a lobby like this, incredible stuff.
Again, man, it's all about confidence, right? And I love to see that. I love to see players getting that chance, right, to go into a finals lobby. It's going to be a different animal entirely, but to still make it there, that's got to mean everything to this duo. So unbelievable stuff. Now, one game left to go before we call wraps for heat number 1. First, a break. When we return, we'll take a look at that leaderboard. We'll start to look at who's in contention, and we'll get ready for that final game. Don't go anywhere. One game left to go. I'm nervous. It's fine. Everything's fine. In case you missed it in that last game, Slepsy Wagers got themselves a victory royale, which means they're going straight through to finals. But we got to get right into this. Okay, let's take a look at this leaderboard. Okay, it's very simple. All right, you want to make it to finals? No problem. Let's get a victory royale in this last game on the day, or we end top 5. Now, top 5 isn't what it looks like on here. It's really top 15 because 1st through 4th have already got themselves a victory royale. So basically, we want to end in the top 15. I'm quite nervous, but that's okay. Let's kind of break a couple things down. Once again, in this last game, we saw Preston take it to a solo clutch. And I don't know about you guys. For a moment, I was like, I really hope they did not take a ton of storm damage. Like, I already saw Preston, like, at the end. You know, like, I really believed in my heart of hearts that Blake was just going to get through. But they're still looking really good, right? They're in a very good spot going into this last game, but we still need to have a good last game.
Yeah, where are they? They're currently sitting in our top 5, right, or top 5 in consistency right now. So I think that they're probably in a pretty positive position to make it into the grand finals through consistency. If we actually look at EU, the qualifying cutoff was 143 points, and they're currently sitting at 203 points. All right, Javi and Diminished, you know, with not 193 points as well, a team that we consistently look at. Even though they've dropped down 2 placements right now, I think that they're also pretty much in a pretty safe position. Currently, 15th place, 120 points, Vivid. So there is a lot of opportunity to grow for some of the teams that are kind of below that threshold. But as far as Javi and Diminished are concerned, I don't think they have to worry too much.
No, I mean, they're playing pretty consistently right now. Like you mentioned, 193 points. The only thing that's got me confused, it's like, I feel like over the course of these last couple of games 3 and 4, and you know what, I'll just throw games 1 and 2 in the mixture there. Oh my gosh, if you just saw that, what just happened. Yeah, Javi just getting edited down real quick. That's how that one kind of turned out for them. But every single game, they have been on height for at least some amount of time. And it felt like in games 3 and 4, it was going to be like a continued story of how well they played in games 1 and 2. They were kind of just going to be able to ride out that high ground all the way until the end game and kind of compete for, you know, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, whatever it may be. But again, it's kind of like you blink and you might miss it, and they just kind of fall off, and you're like, whoa, like, what happened to the team that was just on high ground? Obviously, we saw a little bit of what just happened to them right there, but I love the fact that they're going for high ground every single game. I would just love to kind of see them return back to form, see them holding that again.
I will say, every time we've watched them in the end game, it does look like Javi and Diminished are kind of waiting a little bit patiently to go for high ground. They're not going it for too early, which we've seen some teams make that mistake. But they're going for high ground, and it feels like they're doing it just because they feel like they need to. And they don't have really the loadout or the materials to be able to hold high ground. But I think that they're in their mind, they're just like, oh, well, this is the win condition. We need to go for high ground right now. So they're going for it regardless of what their loadout's looking like. And they're so good that they're able to kind of grab it and steal it, but they're not able to hold it. So I would love to see them kind of just try and position themselves away from that win condition instead, and looking towards maybe just running the low ground, running the mid ground instead.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is because this is a win-in situation, right? Like, even if you're in the top 10, so okay, there's 2 kind of spots I'm thinking about. If you're in the top 10, you're trying to stay in the top 10. If you're not in the top 10, all hope isn't lost. You just need a VR right here, right now, right? But also, if someone in the top 10 goes through, everyone else is getting shifted up, right? So I think if we turn over the page and we look at that top 15, Skidler right now at 120. And Kelly, you called out kind of that EU qual range, right? So even someone like Curly and Ryzen 17th, they still have a shot, right? We can even see, you know, the team all the way at the bottom. If they get a victory royale, they're still going to finals. So this last game is critical, right? Like, even if you're in a position where you're not in that top 10, you really can't let it all go, right? Kelly, you kind of have to be like, hey, this is it. This is our one game to either get top 10, get a VR, or hope that someone in the top 10 gets a VR and pulls us up into the top 10. Like, it's so complex
I love that you bring that up too, because in this situation, when we're in the final game for Heats, this is kind of the opportunity for some of our maybe tier 2, tier 3 teams to really shine, because a lot of our bigger teams have already qualified through. But if you look at like the names that we still have in contention, as well as the teams that we have that have already qualified through, it's a lot of our veterans that are still in the competition right now. So maybe that opportunity for someone to steal away a victory royale in the final game is no longer there, Vivid.
Yeah, obviously, we're using the EU as a reference point, right? 143 points was what it required over there. I do want to know, obviously, this is probably going to be different over here on NA, but one thing that I would not be surprised to see kind of happen is what we saw over on EU was actually the jump in the threshold. Going into Game 5, top 15 was 95 points on EU, and then it ended up being 143. So that threshold changed by like 50 points just over the course of that last game. So, yeah, even though you're around that top 15 spot, these teams cannot feel safe or secure for their grand finals ticket.
Man, oh man, you do not want to take it to the last chance, right? Last chance qualifier is hard. You know, you do not want to take it there. You want to get a VR here or end in the top 10. One game left to go for the last time today. MDF, Jacob, over to you.
It's already sad to see, Monster, that we're in the last game of the day. Luckily, we have Heats 2 and 3 tomorrow, but this is the team's last chance to make it in through Heats before they go through the LCQ, and the game is starting. Let's get right into it.
That's right, Game 5 is here, the last one of the evening on NA, and a little bit of a late show as well, so thanks to everyone staying up, watching some good Fortnite here. You saw that top 15. Vivid made an excellent point. This threshold is going to jump up by a significant number. Now, I saw teams that I recognize down there. Skittles, TK, Verts Duo, right? There's very notable, very experienced veteran teams that are not inside the top 15, or better yet, barely hanging on, Jacob.
Yep, it's one of those moments to where everything you played for from the start of the year, technically up until now, truly gets put to the test. And right now that point threshold is 125 points. It's obviously going to increase as the day goes on, but Rom, this is one of those teams that was going for that straight 50-50 right out of the gates, right on the drop, and they haven't been winning it. That's why you don't see very many points on them. I like their strategy to switch teams up. With 4 games already done and gone, 4 drop spots open up, why not play yourself out and give yourself a shot?
Love it. I love seeing duos have a winner's mentality, not giving up. That's the beauty of like this entire Heats format, the LCQ, situation we have on hand. You really do have a chance. These players scrim, practice, and play all types of other competitive endgame lobbies, and they've won, right? So they know it's all possible. It's just a matter of piecing it all together. And yeah, this may not be the most difficult stage, so yeah, you should be trying to win every single game, every chance you got, regardless of points.
Rising Curly this time around. We saw in game 1, they split this drop. They actually performed decently well. The rest of the games, they kind of fought it out. They had some successes, but they also some downfalls. This time around, they're going back to just playing this game out. They're trusting their game IQ. They're trusting their strategy. My only worry for them is they're getting a little too close to Sandy Strip. Agers and Ritual will have almost nothing to lose in this last game of the day. You jump around, new Sanctuary, south side of the map. We've got Lucian and Vivifies over here, and this is one of those contested drops to where even if you win it, it's so hard to make it out alive because New Sanctuary is kind of in a canyon in towards the middle, and there's so many teams and split drops around that are going to box up, knowing you have to leave and try to get surge tags on you.
And right now, obviously, they don't have any visuals on the outskirts, so folks can just roll up, set up an ambush. But the thing about ambush is Yora kind of boxed in down here, caught out, trying to steal some loot. Caught with the hand in the cookie jar, if you will. Already lost his teammate, and there goes the full finish. So, vibes looking pretty good right now. Big finish up, clean up, looks just about the way they want it. And off to a mid-game they go. And back to the other side. So, Rising Curly rotate into Ritual and Agers. Rituals and Agers, I feel like, after last game, probably want to prove something right now. As Boogie and Cash gave them a little run for their money, took away a bit of their opportunity to crack, right? Like, so I'm thinking they're going to want to play a serious, strong game out right here to close up the night.
Yeah, the timing for, looks like Rise and Curly couldn't have been more perfect. Aegis and Ritual already looted that side of Sandy Strip, and when they typically push out of their POI, it's towards the east of Fort Field. It's towards the southeast side of the map, so they don't necessarily return to that northern part of Sandy Strip this early in their game plan, so they might have escaped possible danger, but there's other teams nearby, so hopefully for Rise and Curly, they don't get caught off guard and able to scrap together a loadout they feel confident going into the rest of the game with.
Talking about TK, you see his team off in the distance. Seems like they put Rogue's team on the heels as Aoxy and Jojo are watching it go down. It's a team that is in contention, essentially, for the consistency placement points. Still have a ways to go, but an endgame is not out of the conversation, definitely not out of reach. Shadow and Virgo on the other side, getting their hands absolutely messy here. Chasing down visuals and braids. I don't really remember where we left off on their points, but like we talked about it, no one is completely safe in this setting here.
Trying to quickly look at the leaderboard and figure out where visuals and grades are. Okay, so they're, I want to say what, 15th would be a 125. They're around 13th place right now, visual to grades, 153. Things will change up if a team above them wins a game, so it's not exact, but going into this game, about 13th place. But the point gap is so close. Outside of maybe teams inside of the top 5, it's just one mistake could cost you your qualification through heats into the grand finals. And that's where I think in some aspects of this game, it will speed up. You see 72 players left alive. It's only second game, our zone, so this is going much faster than every other game so far. But there's going to become a point in time where everybody starts to play safe as Agers takes the bet that he's going to win the 1v1. Fool sprays to the other side, gets the knock. Ritual gets the cleanup, so they survive a narrow fight.
Yeah, Agers almost left for grit in that one, but Tibbs has to leave Jasper's reboot behind. Off he goes. Burning through those splashes as well, so they're not going to get rewarded with anything from this elimination here, other than points that they don't exactly need. Virgo, Shadow on the other side, seem to have finished up the deed on one player, kind of jump in, find Andrew and his duo here as well. Over at the studio, so we'll play for them. Already at 3 elims right now. This is the other side of Virgo and Shadow, almost the play-in side that we missed out on, right? Watching them play so aggressive, but look at this, Agers, what's going on? Agers is trying to lead the push here, and it's Rituals coming through, cleaning things up. Ritual just seems to be playing like insanely well today.
Yeah, and if you're Agers, though, that's got to be a whole nother level of confidence, saying, hey, I went down early, we're still going well. I went down a little bit early in another game, I got rebooted. I can count on Ritual. And there's just another example. And honestly, I can kind of see when you're playing with, like Kelly said, Peterbot and Cold in a trio format, somebody has to do the boring work, and that was Ritual most of the time. Now we're seeing him in a duo setting, and he is popping off.
Yeah, definitely. Look at this little clutch right there, breaks the bills, and dash roll Agers to just keep himself alive and in the game. Gotta respect the effort at the end there. But yeah, Ritual's just been playing, honestly, exceptional Fortnite. And again, you talk about someone who's got like this IGL title, right? Like on his shoulders, but man, he's so good. He's fragging. He's just playing the best that he's ever played.
Kyan over here, and this is where you can kind of see, we talked about 125 being on the line. They're that next place team, 16th or say 11th in terms of overall consistency. They're only 5 points down, Monster. And I said this earlier, we've seen FNCS majors be decided by less than one elimination. Why not a trip to the grand finals as well? Shadow and Virgo continues their aggression. You said it early on to start this game. They're getting a little bit more aggressive early on this game, unlike any other one that we've seen so far, and they're continuing that trend. Prez and Liam, they got to watch out. Full health Shadow and Virgo are trying to break their way into that box.
I'm watching here. Big shot comes through. The follow-up is good as well. You see that combat AR putting in that big pressure there, but Virgo not looking to do anything too risky. Tries to wait for Shadow to back him up, but no. Punishment comes in. So Liam and Press playing really well right now. I'm gonna go ahead and all just hit a little reset initiation here, and Shadow and Virgo, yeah, I was gonna say likely to give it up. Probably not too confident, right? The way that one played out, so why not just give that fight up?
Liam and Prez, 22 points. They're just in a situation here with their backs up against the wall where they have to win this game if they want to dodge that LCQ. Which, hey, anything can happen here. We've seen it happen before in history, so it's not out of the ordinary. 125, Sniper Dude and Avenger. This is the team that I'm talking about on the line. And this is kind of scary if you see that two of the teams, Max and his duo, landed Wonky Land. They qualified, so you got to watch out for any other teams, Cop, that intend to land Wonky Land in the grand finals. And if Avenger and Sniper Dude actually qualify as well, we could see multiple teams landing at Wonky Land in finals this season unless anybody has a change of heart.
Yeah, that'll definitely change things up as far as the overall narrative is concerned here. We've got to get there first. See how it ends up playing out. I mean, and yeah, again, talk about the next two heats, right? Like, someone's going to, multiple teams, I'd assume, is probably going to fall out of the Wonky Land. So I'm surely expecting a contested finals, if you will, but we'll see. You know, things always shake up, right? Like, who really wants to fight Clicks anyways? Seems to think twice.
This is the fight we've seen a few times throughout the day. Both of them in a similar situation of having to win this game in order to qualify for the grand finals here and now. You can kind of see the situation that they're in. They're not far away from zone. Sus Studios even has the mending machine for the HP if they are lacking anything. It's just about how you're going to get out safely. One of the biggest hurdles in a lot of these teams' game plan is how they're handling Surge when the zone rotates so far away.
Yeah, and Day's team just has continuously fought inside the storm, so it's all trouble there. Meanwhile, the other team I talked about, Ver and Barney, just on the outskirts again, looking through that glass window, trying to break in, trying to see what they can get done here. Atlas and Slays are off, though. That team takes off here, so they actually have 5 elims. Okay, so Atlas and Slays are playing some good Fortnite.
Taking that north side of the map, kind of working their way down. Kind of what we've seen throughout the majority of the day. 43 points, again, another team where we can kind of see the storyline unfolding right before our very eyes. If they're going to make it to the grand finals through heats, going to need a big win. And where the zone is kind of going, I have to make sure I kind of see it fully, but it seems like it's going to be a sort of center zone. You see Dark Dominion there just outside the edge of the zone, so it does have a western lean, but for the most part, as of now, it is centered up. Still 8 zones to go to pull these players around. As you jump on board Rise and Curly, 104 points. You know, they were inside of that bubble throughout the majority of the day, but going down early in that last game put them in this position here. Just luckily for them, they still have 2 win conditions.
Ooh, this fight going down for Shadow and Virgo. Fast, furious here to go ahead and try to finish up the elimination off the Phoebe, who's off to the races right now, running through the outskirts, but no, Virgo gets caught in the crossfire by other duos that were watching this aggressive chase happen here, and what looked like a perfect way to set themselves up for the end game here ends up turning disastrous. Now forced to double back here. What happened?
Just kind of by that stat, you know, they lead the lobby in damage dealt, but also in damage taken. The duality of the sword, where sometimes you can make a lot of big plays happen, but sometimes you get stuck like that. There's Rogue, Spear, trying to break in the box onto Jojo Fishy, and they do get the elimination. That's big for them. You can see they're missing a little bit of loot, or they were up until they were able to pick up the loadout. The Shadow going back for the reboot over towards Humble Hills, runs into a whole nother team, but not just one. It looks like 2 overall.
I was gonna say, but you know, for Shadow Virgo, they have nothing to worry about. They know they have enough points, so it's a much different level of pressure. It was actually Phoebe who was still there. Shadow just putting shots down, just letting them know he's not messing around. Meanwhile, he finds a solo he was originally engaging on, and you know he's gonna come back and like look to finish it, but instead he says, all right, I want to play this game out. We still want to win. We gotta respect them trying their best here. This is good.
Come with its own risk. Trying to see who is all looking the way. Maybe Fabio, Broken and Sandman, top of the mountain. But with nobody directly nearby, this might be a chance. Even if he gets knocked, that Shadow can try to go and get it. But it does look like Virgo is going to make it most of the way down. So even though we might have some questions about the loot, what is it going to look like, how they're going to get it, they're at least giving themselves a shot at getting back together as a duo.
I think Phoebe ends up falling too, but look at this. Eoxy, Jojo rotate right into Rogue, FNBR, and Spear. They get the initial tag. Although they were caught off by surprise, Eoxy gets finished and Spear comes through and seems like and just to pick one up himself. Look at that. These are all new teams trying to fight for that victory out here and now. City flexes still inside the game. Elution Vibe still in this game as well.
Rotating in 205 points. They're basically going against Blake, Preston, Shadow, and Virgo for the #1 team in terms of consistency. Not having won a game on today, but you're kind of seeing the struggles that Rise and Curly are actually going through. Yeah, they have their loadout, their iron pump, their pistol, 3 slices of pizza, but 50 on the Chug Jug, and you notice that he has this zip line. There's no shockwaves, no gloves. That zip line, it can cover distances quick, but it leaves you at the utmost risk of getting tagged. You're not going to be able to ride it long, so good luck to them if they plan to actually use it.
This Shadow, Virgo, south of the zone right now. Action just doesn't stop for them, but the zone favoritism doesn't hurt, given that they just rebooted their way back in. We have Preston and Blake positioned up right above them, just kind of on the mountain here, looking downwards. Virgo and Shadow know there's danger nearby. Saw those teams lurking inside this same building, outside the warehouse. The wide view giving us how many duos are starting to position up around here.
Slips in Toronto. This is troublesome right now. 159 points. So they're inside of the bubble when it comes to consistency, but 523 below the damage threshold. Not a vote of confidence at all. Rise and Curly, similar situation, not as drastic, which means that one elimination there is going to get him one step closer to consistency, but also above that damage threshold. Toronto slips. They go from 500 to 438, but that is over 2 full health eliminations here.
They need to jump in on box yesterday. Like, it is getting late. There it is. Nice little knockoff for Tony. You have another opportunity here. They go for the down body first. Get a couple tags here. Not quite enough to get them out of the fire, though. No. This little brief bit of hesitation. There goes another team getting greedy right here. Are they going to push out of the box? They're going to sit back and blow through what's left of their heals. This might be a huge mistake. I think they needed to go for that that stone wall that was just getting refreshed right there when they had a chance. But hey, the 50-player threshold hits in. They get to buy themselves a little bit of room now. There's a great tag here on the rotate, Jacob.
Yeah, damage is absolutely needed. I was going to say, it's not over just yet. We do need to get down to around 40 players, and all that work seemingly going to waste from 500 to 300, back up to 500, end up in a fight. Good damage, but Slip's taking about 150 himself, so it's not really going to move the needle in terms of Storm Surge, but they're continuously pushing themselves to their limits. They push up onto one, but melee shockwaves away. All these opportunities at damage are going right out the window as they still have to cover more distance to get in. Luckily for them, in this moment, Storm Surge is deactivated, but a couple of seconds, it's going to turn right back on.
So interesting how it works. You take that damage, and all of a sudden you're, again, losing in the exchange, right? You really have to give out more than you receive. Clock is still ticking, though. They're still in the race. 169 is impressive nonetheless. They could, again, be inching their way up to what might just be the bar, right? They're almost setting the threshold potentially here. So even if they do fall early, can they get more points? There it is, a little bit more placement points. They're still in this right now.
Yeah, that cushion, they just need to continue to do that. Either eliminations or just taking out a full team, because 61 below. Toronto goes down. Storm Surge doesn't take him out yet, so they can still get the revive. Good job on the Slip to do that. Get the tags in. Storm Surge actually turns off. They get to 40 players, but Slip's realizing, I cannot be the hero in this situation. I just have to get more points. I think he made a wise decision here.
I love it. I love him just rotating out, playing smart, going for placement points. That is the difference here and now. Instead of getting greedy there, all he has to do is just maintain life, choose life, and earn points here and now. 175. Meanwhile, Rise and Curly are just clawing their way up this hill now. They need to jump up 50, 60, 70 points if they want to solidify their way into consistency here. It's going to be very close now. Meanwhile, on high ground, here's a team going for a win, trying to really shake things up, change up the narrative.
Yeah, and they're already inside of that bubble as well. So if this team here, Albo and Listen, do end up with a victory royale at the end of this one, it opens up a spot at the bottom of that consistency leaderboard. And right now, it doesn't look like they're going to give it up easy. Looking down below, trying to put pressure. Aloe even reconnecting, so getting chopped is going to be a much more difficult task. There's Curly and Rise down below. You can see the two different stages. A team up above that has very little to worry about versus Rise and Curly on the ultimate low ground, having to sacrifice HP just so they can get to the front side of the zone.
Love the rotate though. Very nicely done. It's going to position themselves way ahead of the pack here. They're looking like they're cut above the rest, but no, Curly gets caught off on the tail, and a duo jumps right down. And it's status in higher came there, unfortunately, and now Rise is left as a solo. This is going to be near impossible to try to win. Meanwhile, high ground is just snatched up by Agers and Ritual. They're trying to make a splash here to conclude the night. Fromm still in the game, barely 127 points. He gets shut down. Off to the lobby he goes. His run is now over. Slips, falls too. 188 is how far they managed to make it. Meanwhile, Virgo gets a knock on someone up top, but it is just back and forth.
139 points here for Rise. It's all on his shoulders. We've seen Rise contend for FNCS championships, and now he's trying to contend here just to make it to the actual finals. 147 points. If him and Curly figure out a way to make it through and qualify here in Heats, you got to give him a big thank you. But everybody else still not letting go. Freon, Dragon, over 200 points. They find another elimination, just crushing dreams in their path as they make it up the side of the mountain. Aegis Ritual, they gave up high ground, but only for a moment as they re-chop it down. That's Prez who has to give it up, but up goes Skidler, up goes Cayenne. They're ready to challenge as well.
This is like a worst case scenario, right? The teams that are on the line getting this win, pushing you out. Skidler's kind of be the only one left alive right now, so it's not looking good for Skittles. He's got no match. 6 teams remaining. Meanwhile, Javi and Amish. If you're everyone else in the lobby fighting for a consistency spot, this is what you want. You want a team that is dominating to win the game so that a position opens up, so that the threshold is a little bit easier. And Skittles is still in the running right now. And the opportunity here to earn some points. Then you got Agers on the backside here. It's going to come down to who can be quicker on the draw. Wow. It's just going to be Agers, unfortunately. 171 for him, and puts Agers up, just popping off right now here. It's his turn.
Yeah, didn't even need the points, but he ends another run, even taking down a Minish. That could have been a fight for first place by itself, but Javi's still alive. Dragon and Creon still alive. Everybody in this game is over 200 points, so somebody at the bottom of consistency has just been gifted a slot. But for Javi, it's about first place. For Dragon and Creon, it's about making a statement. Shockwave coming out from down below can't cause too much confusion as Javi does get chopped down. Finally, a chance to fight toe-to-toe as Creon goes up. He takes a huge punch, dropped down to 46 HP. Javi having to do the same thing, sacrificing storm damage just to get to the front side of the zone, but his chances might be running out. We're going up the mountain. Pressure coming out from Dragon and Creon as well. He's going to need a miracle to survive this. Javi with the shockwave, and it's not going to be enough. Creon and Dragon not only win that game, qualify for grand finals, but definitely put the leaderboard to the test.
Nicely done for them. And once again, if you are someone who is fighting for consistency, Jacob, you're happy, you're smiling, you're saying, oh my gosh, thank God someone with 200 plus points took that victory royale there. Well, from us here at the desk, that's wraps. Game 5 is over there, Zeke.
Guys, Jacob, MDF, fantastic cast on the day. My gosh, day 1 of Heat, 1 of a 3-day weekend of Fortnite. Fantastic day. So many incredible things happened today, but like they called out, right? Creon getting themselves a victory royale. They were in that top 10, right? So we're pulling everyone else in that leaderboard up So now if you're outside the top 10, you're thinking, did we do enough? Did we get those points we needed to make a difference here? And I mean, for again, to shout out Creon and Dragon again, we saw them in that last game, right? These guys were moving and grooving, and now they give themselves a victory royale. So there's even more credibility to the duo, which makes me excited, right? Because then we take it to a finals lobby and it's like, okay, yeah, I remember them back in Heat 1. They were kind of cracked.
I mean, to add to the credibility of this duo right here, not only are they pretty experienced veterans, but they got a 4th and a 3rd place as well throughout the day. So that victory royale within their grasp throughout the 5 games that we saw, and for them to finally get it in the final day. Vivid, that is how I want to wrap things up for my Heats.
Yeah, absolutely. It was not an easy win there at the end at all. We kind of saw the chaos happening towards the high ground, and somehow Creon and Dragon, they were the ones that kind of ended up being the healthy team. Not only, the team up on the high ground, but also somehow healthy in that regard amongst all of that chaos. And there were just so many solos left. Cleaned it up very, very nicely. But Zeke, obviously, 5 games down. We saw who won that one. The big question mark is, though, who qualified? Who was going to Grants?
We gotta find out. We take a look at the leaderboard to see. Now, remember, when we look at this, you're looking at the top 15. Those top 5, they're gonna have 1,000 points. Don't freak out, Timmy. It's fine. That just means they got a victory royale. They are going through. So all the way to the top there starts in 6th place Agers and Ritual coming in first. We kind of knew that, right? These guys were incredible. To see Javi and Diminish as well, only 8 points behind. They were definitely thinking about this like a finals lobby, right? Like I feel like some duos would look to just get the VR and move on, but to kind of sit there and go like, no, we need to practice. If this was a finals lobby, we need to be consistent if we want to place and go to Summit.
Well, I mean, if you missed my incredible segment at the start of the show, you would know that Javi and Administer are relatively new as a duo just before Major 1 forming together. So you're totally right, Zeke, having this opportunity to play a few games together and still be able to prove to everyone that there is a reason why they got 1st place out of the play-ins, to see them perform so well right now. I just love to see it, Vivid. But we got so many big names here. I love that Blake and Preston, who were so close to auto-qualifying, still break it into our top 10. And then, of course, one of your favorite duos, Shadow and Virgo, there as well.
I feel like they didn't have like a necessarily pop-off game or anything like that, like I'm kind of used to out of Shadow, but they played consistently throughout the day, picking up 3rd place on that consistency leaderboard. So that's going to be definitely enough to make them go to the grand finals. Also, got to give a big shout out to Listen and Aloe. I feel like their last couple of games were really good, and yeah, that follows suit. Taking a look at their match history, the game number 4 was a 2nd place, and then that last game right there was a 6th place. So they got a majority of their points just in those last 2 games. Now that we've talked about all of the teams that are on the first page, Zeke, we know what time it is.
2nd page time. That's right. 15th is the cutoff. Let's take a look. I am happy to report 14th place, Curly and Rise do make it through. This is big, right? Like this is a duo we were kind of looking to. Recently formed, a Vet and Rise, right? Now, if we look at some of their placements, we did have 2 kind of not great games, 43rd and a 42nd. But remember, these guys were contested, right? So maybe going into finals, that changes. Maybe they look to switch things up. I don't know. But either way, they've done it, right? They can say, hey, look, we're making finals. Now we need a plan for that. But still, Kelly, I love seeing them qualify. It gives me such high hopes.
No, I mean, again, we were talking about the start of the show. They have not even played a Div Cup together. So for them to go from that to this being contested and to still qualify through, I am so happy for them. Hopefully they're going to be able to get some practice in over the next week to see a better performance coming out of the grand finals, because I'm sure 14th place is probably not exactly where they wanted to be, but big shout outs to the Tick and Mafia for getting that last place spot right there. An 8-point difference between 15th and 16th place, but it's not over yet, Vivid, for all the teams that didn't qualify.
Yeah, they will have one more opportunity to make it to grand finals. That'll be on Monday and Tuesday, that last chance qualifier. I'm happy to report there, right? We saw right there, 15th place was 145 points. We kind of went into that game at 120. We were kind of talking about, maybe there's going to be another, 50-point jump. No, only a 25-point jump there. And, surprisingly, EU at 143 points over there was kind of the cutoff, and 145 points here. So actually only a 2-point difference. So good to see that the 2 regions kind of had a very similar threshold. That'll be something to think about as we continue on throughout the weekend, throughout the rest of the heats.
You know, that's true, but that is only Heat 1, right, Viv? Like, we have 2 more days of Heat, and for them and for us, these Heats could look very different tomorrow, right? Brand new duos coming in, new spots taking over, new people being contested or not. Like, there is so much to be excited for. As we start to wrap up, I want to give you guys the floor. Anything to say before we start to say goodbye?
I'd just like to apologize again to everyone. Thank you guys, everyone. It's been so long since the FNCS Global Championship, so I'm so excited that we're back. We got a little taste with the Reload Elite Series, but honestly, the FNCS, it's the storylines, it's the drama and the rivalries that I love to see, so I'm excited that we're back, Vivid.
Yeah, nothing compares. You could just tell right as soon as that first game kicked off, even on EU, it was like so stacked. There were so many teams alive, and we can have as many set lobbies as we want through like the Div Cups and the performance evals, but nothing ever plays out like an FNCS lobby does. Happy to report that NA went exactly as it usually does. It was fun, it was chaotic, and it was very, very competitive. I'm excited to jump back into the action over the course of the weekend.
Ooh, Fortnite fam, we hope you guys are excited as well. Don't forget, tomorrow we will be back. EU will be before us. They have Heat 2, then we'll come back. Then Sunday they'll go. We'll go 2 more days, and then last chance qualifier, and then finals. So much Fortnite to watch over the next week or so. Also, don't forget, Triple Threat is in the item shop. I repeat, Triple Threat is in the item shop. Absolutely incredible. Check it out. That's it for us for tonight, though. We can't wait to get back up with you guys tomorrow for more Fortnite. So until then, we love you. Keep yourself safe. We'll see you on that Battle Bus.
Beep, beep.
Woo! That went by. Oh, wait.
That went by.